So I'm going to introduce you to our team tonight. Again, we're all students here, second year students that are here to help you, all of you first year students who are entering the program. We're here from the bottom of our hearts, as well as we have some amazing volunteers, which we'll introduce shortly. So my name is Brian Hendricks. I'm a second year primary junior student. Again, no teachables because I'm primary junior, but if you want to know something cool about me, I just love being in nature, as pictured here. And something I always love to do is to eat and make cookies. You will all often see me with a cookie in hand. So we're going to introduce you to Sara. Sara, are you here? I know Sara was in the
Yes, I'm currently here. I'm currently leaving the beach. So if you hear commotion in the back, I apologize. Yes.
So this is Sara.
So
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm the Director of Outreach and Communication for the MTSA. So I've been the one managing the social media. So if you sent a message through social media, I've been usually the one responding. And I was also the one to create the MTSA website. So hopefully you all been able to access that. It's also in the link in our Instagram and our Facebook. If you have not put the link, hopefully one of the MTSA members can share the link in the chat. So hopefully you've been finding it helpful. If you have any suggestions or feedback, feel free to send me a message and I can hopefully add some of those feedback suggestions. Thanks.
So I saw the note about Jenna about
Brian, you muted yourself while you said that. Can you say it again?
I saw the note from Jenna about cookies, and someone said cookies. So I just thought that was funny. Anyway, so I'm going to introduce you to Sara. Sara, she's our Director of Student Experience and Advocacy. Sara, go ahead.
Hi everyone. Like Brian said, I'm the Director of Student Experience, Equity and Advocacy. And my role is kind of more behind the scenes, but I am kind of in charge of just planning events for you guys, workshops and orientations, and helping around just generally with the team. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, if you have any questions, you can definitely send them through the website and you can be directed to the right person for sure.
Okay, thank you. Next is our lovely Finance Director, Emma Richardson. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Emma. I'm the Director of Finance this year. So kind of like Sara, I'm more working behind the scenes, but you'll probably hear from me if you ever win one of our contests throughout the year, because I'll be sending you your prize most likely. But yeah, we're really happy to have all of you here, and I look forward to meeting you virtually or in person this upcoming year.
And speaking about contests, there are contests coming up through orientation that you have a chance to win some cool gift cards. And gift cards that you can use to, sometimes you're going to need that coffee at the end of a long day of class. Being on Zoom for long hours or being in person in class, I'm sure we all forget how exhausting that is, but you're gonna need that coffee, and maybe winning a gift card for something like that can be very helpful and can also get you in contact with Emma. So next is our Director of Professional Development is Laura. Laura is not here today, although she would love to be here. Laura is working tirelessly on professional development workshops throughout the year. She's working to make sure that students are able to succeed. And she's working hard with faculty, and she's working hard as a team with us to develop great programs. A fun fact about Laura is that she is currently she lives in Alberta. So her time difference her time's a little different, but we still managed to keep in contact. Laura's great, and you'll meet her throughout the year. Next is our Director of Academic Development, which is Emily. Go ahead, Emily.
All right. Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Emily, and I am your Director of Academic Development. And so what that means is I deal with everything course and research related. So throughout the year, aligned with some key checkpoints throughout the research process, we'll be doing some workshops to sort of support you along the way, especially acknowledging that research is something new and possibly a little bit scary to some folks. And I also have my finger on the pulse with all things MPT. So if you have any questions regarding the proficiency test, those can be directed towards myself as well as some of the other leadership team who are working on supports for that process. Otherwise, I'm an IS teacher candidate with teachables in general sciences and biology. And a fun fact about me is that I am pretty much always knitting. So you might see some knits if you're seeing me sometimes throughout the year.
Awesome. So before we get into finances, I would also, I'm just going to stop the share, and I would like to mention how this event cannot be done without some amazing people here. I'm going to spotlight them quickly. So this is Antonia Kema. She, oh, did that work? There we go. She is a primary junior. She's actually from my cohort and a good friend of mine. So thank you, Antonia, for coming here and volunteering your time. I'm going to go back to gallery view. We also have Catherine Chen. She is a primary junior teacher candidate who's also coming here to volunteer. So thank you so much. I'm going to remove your spotlight. I don't mean to steal your thunder. I know we have more here. Jen, did you mind just saying hi? I don't know where you went. There's a lot of screens here.
Hi, everyone.
So this is Jen. She's an IS student. She's also here volunteering. Thank you for spotlighting whoever did that. She's an amazing and passionate person who's here to help you along your journey. And thank you so much for volunteering. I believe last but not least, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not including you, is we have Angela Retta. Angela Retta, did you want to say hi?
Hi, first years.
Angela is she's actually from my cohort as well. She is a primary junior, hardworking individual. And I guess a fun fact I could say is she is a full-time teacher candidate as well as being a full-time mom. So quite awesome and quite hardworking to have people. You're gonna have people in your cohort with different experiences, and having someone like Angela is great to have. She offers a great perspective to have in our program. So if you have questions, please, that didn't work. I meant to share my screen. If you have any questions, feel free to post it in the chat. We are monitoring the chat, and someone can bring it up. I'm trying to monitor the chat as best as possible. So as we go through this, if you have any questions pertaining, you can also use the raised hand function. If you've never used the raised hand function, it's normally, I think for Windows, it'll be at the bottom of your screen under, I believe, actions or something like that. So do play around with the Zoom. You'll be using Zoom throughout this year. So use the raise hand function or under reactions. Thank you, Catherine. So perfect. So we're going to start with finances. So a quick note. I know there have been questions in previous years about tuition changes. We as the MTSA, what we do is we manage student life. So we try to make student life as best as possible. And the ones who are managing or who can advocate for you on behalf for issues like tuition and fees are the undergraduate student, sorry, the University of Toronto Graduate Student Union. So you can contact them. Their contact information is here, info@utgsu.ca. So yeah, that you can contact them. They get back to you pretty quickly. So if you have any questions about fees, do feel free to reach out to them. So again, and as this note already states, tuition has already been set. I don't think it'll be lowered, but we will talk about ways that you can get support for finances. Okay, so tuition fees and Acorn. So what you need to do is you need to pay your tuition. So the tuition, you can start paying your tuition. The best date to pay is, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the dates are August 27th to September 7th. So do pay within those intervals. And that'll be on another slide with that correct date. So if I got it wrong, we'll correct it later on. But you want to go to your Acorn, and if you haven't set up your Acorn, August 27th, like Sara said, is recommended. September 10th is the deadline, so the sooner you do it, the better. When you want to go to your finances, you hit make a payment, and that's how you get to paying your tuition. So again, the fees, as Sara mentioned in the chat, your payment is due is August 27th until September 10th. So I saw a question about tuition deferral. You would have to get in contact with ORSS about that. So do get in contact with them about tuition deferral, and they will get you the accurate information about that, and we'll be able to provide you with the best information. Again, anything that's related to OSAP, financial changes, yeah, like Sara said, if you're receiving OSAP, make sure you defer your fees. And again, make sure financial questions are sent through ORSS. It's always good to double check, even if we answer something here, it's always good to go back to ORSS because they are able to, or admission, I think admissions as well can answer your questions because they're faculty, they can get to those questions the best as possible. So again, all information regarding payment can be found here, as well as just doing a quick search on these fees. You can find them quite easily on how to pay, when to pay, but these are the deadlines. Did anyone else want to jump in? Emma, Emily, anyone else?
I was just going to say something, if that's okay. I can't find the raise hand button on my phone. But if you haven't paid it yet, if you go to your invoice, if you go to Acorn, go to finances, and you go to your invoice, if you haven't paid your fees already, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it does say minimum payment, and it'll show you what the amount is. So if you haven't already, that's what the payment is for just the fall session. So you don't have to pay the entire tuition for the full year. You just need to pay that amount.
Antonia?
Yes, I was going to jump in as well. If you are receiving OSAP and you've paid the minimum, you do still have to defer. That has to say deferral on it, because then if it doesn't say that, then the school's not going to recognize your minimum payment.
Yeah. So again, the point that was rated in the chat, and thank you, Antonia. So make sure if you're using OSAP, do defer your tuition. Okay. Okay, perfect. We're going to jump to the next slide. If anyone wants to jump in, please let me know, or please just jump in. So again, this is when are my fees due? Deadline to pay for fall term tuition and non-tuition fee amounts. So that's September 30th and January 31st, 2022 for a deadline to pay winter tuition and non-tuition fee amounts. So a note here that it says OSAP will directly deposit the money into your account. Any outstanding fall or winter fees should be paid by September 30th, 2021 for fall and January 31st, 2022 for winter respectively. And you can check, I think, Emma, did you mind just dropping this link into the chat, please? Thank you so much. Okay. Jump into the next slide. So if you do not pay the minimum fee or defer your tuition, you will receive a status of financially canceled and you'll no longer be enrolled in courses. So do make sure you do that. Again, the best day to pay for your tuition, if you can, is tomorrow. So make sure you deal with that as soon as possible, just because it is something that is coming up as soon as possible. Antonia, did you want to answer that question in the chat?
Make sure you defer. Whether or not you pay that minimum fee, you have to, if you're getting OSAP, you have to defer it, because OSAP might not necessarily come on that day. And then if that deadline is passed, then what is going to show up is that financial cancellation. So if you're getting OSAP, just like I'm getting OSAP, I'm already deferred. I did that like a while ago. So I press deferral, and then when the money comes, it comes. Because if OSAP delays longer, the school still recognizes it because it has that deferral, because they're expecting the money from OSAP, who usually pays the school directly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Antonia. Okay, so we're gonna jump to the next slide. So what happens if I don't pay my fees on time? If you obtained a tuition deferral, register without payment, or paid the minimum required payment amount displayed on your Acorn invoice, or fees have changed since the registration period, pay outstanding fees by the fall term, winter term, or summer session deadlines. Otherwise, monthly service charge fees will be billed on your Acorn invoice on the 15th of every month, at a monthly rate of 1.5% compounded. So just take note of this and realize, do we still have to pay the minimum if we already deferred our tuition? Yes, you do. That still has to be paid. Okay, so please, these links will be posted as we go along, as well as the slides will become available to you. We'll be making sure. Angel, did you have a question?
Yeah, I want to clarify because I think I'm misunderstanding. Is that interest, is that if we don't pay the full amount up front? If we're paying half right now and then half later, will there be interest charged over the semester?
No, I don't believe so.
No, okay. So if we pay the minimum amount now and then pay the rest in December or whatever that deadline will be, there's no interest?
No. Well, I believe the second deadline is January.
Oh, January. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, the point is to break it up to make it easier for students to pay, so that they don't want to penalize you for having to separate that in a system that you're creating to make things easier for students in a financially difficult time.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for your question. That was a good question. Okay, so here, Emma, did you want to speak to this slide?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this slide is kind of confusing, but it's basically just breaking down where that minimum payment comes from. So basically it's taking your full tuition, it's subtracting your winter tuition amount, and it's subtracting your winter non-tuition charges. So that's how you end up with that minimum payment. But if you go to your invoice on Acorn, which I think it says, no, it actually just says in the notes for the slides, but if you go to your invoice in Acorn, if you just scroll all the way down to the bottom of it, it'll say minimum payment to register, and it'll say the exact amount you need to pay.
Right. And what I saw the question in the chat, and just also realize that your summer tuition is, or your summer courses are built into your tuition for first year. So there's no extra tuition in the summer. That is all under what you're paying for your first year.
Yeah, you only pay like a first year to like total and a second year total. Like you won't have a fee pop up in like May or June to pay.
Any questions? Feel free to raise your hand. I see Sophia has a hand up. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I just have a quick question. So I deferred because I'm getting OSAP too. And for some reason on my invoice, I don't see a minimum payment, but I need to pay. My plan was to just like let my OSAP come in and then pay what was ever left over for the fall. But it says registered. So I don't know, like when it says like in my courses, it says I'm registered. So I don't know if anybody can help.
Can I just clarify? So you've paid the minimum of 300?
Yeah. Oh, the minimum is the 300 that we paid a while ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay,
then
I thought that was a deposit.
No. That's the to hold your spot basically.
Yeah.
And then are you getting OSAP?
Yep.
Okay, and you're registered, so you still have to defer.
I'm deferred. So I'm
Perfect.
registered
You're
without
good.
payment. Okay, I'm good. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's the confusion many were having. Like when we were saying you have to pay the minimum, they were thinking that we were referring to that 5,000 and something amount.
Yes.
So we should clarify that.
Randy, go ahead.
Acorn literally says minimum payment to register 5,000 and some. Like the 300 is just to hold your spot, but like then you have to actually pay. And so that's why you defer your OSAP. You defer your payment if you're receiving OSAP, because then you're telling the university to expect this money from OSAP. Once you've deferred, you don't need to worry about it. But if you're like me and you're not getting OSAP, I have to pay $5,000 within the next week. So, or they'll kick me out. Like that's how it worked in undergrad. So.
Thank you, Jen, for the clarification. clarification. Randy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of jump on what everyone else was saying. So I just want to confirm. I asked it in the chat and I didn't get a response. So I'm just going to ask it out loud. But the $300 academic deposit is the minimum payment that you guys are coining the term for, right? That's what you guys are saying? It's, yes? Okay.
Correct, Randy.
Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. If anyone else wants to jump in, I'll give us a second just to, anyone has any questions, feel free to just unmute yourself because sometimes I can only see about 20 people on my screen, so just feel free to unmute yourself and speak.
So sorry, I just have a question. So if I already paid the $300 as the deposit, and then I actually paid the $5,000 something minimum payment that it told me to pay by 27th, do I still need to defer for OSAP to do the rest of the payment?
Are you getting OSAP?
Yes, but I already paid the 5,000 something amount.
So the OSAP money is just going to go straight into your account. Because if you, okay, so the minimum payment is not $5,000. So $5,000 is your payment for the first semester. And then you're going to get another $5,000 payment for your second semester in the winter. You have to pay $300, which we all pay to hold our spot. That is what we're referring to as the minimum payment. If you have paid that and you are receiving OSAP, you have to defer. If you have paid the $300 and you've paid the $5,000, you have paid your semester already. But if you're still receiving OSAP, the OSAP will go directly into your account.
Oh, it's just that when I went on online, it said that you have to look at your invoice and then check what's your minimum amount and then pay that.
I know it's confusing, I understand, but the minimum payment there is for the semester, but that's your tuition for the entire semester, $5,000. Okay, because if you look at the entire year, the tuition is $12,000 something. So the first $5,000 is your first semester tuition. The other $5,000 is the next semester. As long as you paid your first $300, you're in. If you're getting OSAP and you don't have money to pay the $5,000, defer. If you're not getting OSAP, pay the $5,000 before September 10th. I believe if everybody can confirm that, September 10th is your deadline. And then if you are getting OSAP and you have paid, like Sylvia,
yes,
then you don't have to defer because you've paid your full tuition for the fall. Mm-hmm. And if you're getting that OSAP money, it will just go directly into your account. But if you've not paid the $5,000, you should pay by September 3rd or defer for OSAP.
Okay, thank you so much.
I just want to clarify because I know a lot of people have kind of the same question. So I hope everybody kind of understands. The minimum payment is not the $5,000. That is your tuition for the entire first semester. The minimum payment is that $300 that we're talking about.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Antonia. Amazing as always. I'm going to share my screen again. Or if anyone else has any more questions, just feel free to jump in.
Sorry, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I just joined in now. I was wondering, so for me...
Can I just clarify the dates for people who are not receiving OSAP? Because I think they're confused.
Yeah, go ahead, Sara.
Oh.
Sorry, Faduma, we'll get back to you.
Oh, okay, no worries.
Oh, sorry, can you guys hear me or no?
Yeah, Sara, you're good.
Hello?
Sara, you're good.
Sorry. That's why.
Okay, Sara, can we get back to you? You're breaking up a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna mute you. I'm sorry.
Or Sara, why don't you write it in the message and we can get back to you there.
I'll write it in the chat and I'll speak it out, or one of us will say it.
Yeah, like what Sara might be referring to is that if you
I can't mute her for some reason.
I know, I can't either. I tried.
To pay your tuition is August.
Okay, yeah, so I think what Sara was referring to, yes, the recommended date, if you are paying up front, which means that you will be required to pay the $5,000. So that's excluding people who are awaiting OSAP payments. So if you're paying up front, it's recommended you pay tomorrow so that everything's processed in time for you to be registered and for you to not end up with that notice that your registration's been canceled. So just take note of that. If you're not awaiting OSAP payments, you should hopefully be paying by tomorrow.
Okay, Faduma, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to ask for in my scenario, I guess, or yeah, my circumstances, OSAP for some reason is not paying like the full amount. And so I'm just wondering, they're kind of only paying a portion of the 5,000. And so I did defer. So what does that mean? Like if it only pays a portion, I know that I'm gonna have something like I have to pay the rest off out of pocket. But when would the deadline be for that? Is pretty much the question I'm asking. Does that make sense? Hello?
Yeah,
Sorry,
Attorney,
am I cutting off?
no, you're good.
No, does anybody have an answer to that? From my understanding, if you're deferred right now and then OSAP is paying just a portion of your payment, you still have till September 30th, because that's a deadline for OSAP payment. You have till December 3rd. September 30th, not December, because you'll be kicked out by then. September 30th to pay the rest of the amount. So whatever OSAP doesn't cover, that's what you have to do.
So that's if I don't by then, does that mean that they I guess they cancel my registration? Like, what does that mean? If
No.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I just talked to ORSS the other day, and also OSAP's only paying about like half, a little bit less than half for me. And she said OSAP will come in and they'll pay that portion for you directly to your fees, and then you have till September 30th to pay, or else you get charged the interest. You don't get canceled or anything from the class. You'll just get charged interest. And yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much for answering the question.
Thank you, Sophia. It's always great to have each other to answer each other's questions. You all are in similar circumstances, so thank you so much, Sophia, and thank you, Antonia. Again, and if you still don't have your questions answered, and by the end of tonight, again, ORSS is great. You can contact them, and they can help you out. They're pretty good. Sometimes there is a wait, and you could set up a way that you can get, or you can get in contact with them. They'll get in contact with you. Okay, any other questions before we jump ahead? Okay, perfect. I'm going to share my screen again, and here we go. Perfect. Okay, so again, so this is what we were mentioning earlier. Emma, you were done talking about this?
Yeah, so honestly, you can just skip this slide because we've already gone over the fact, like, yeah, the minimum. This is just about making a payment.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. So yeah, you just want to make sure you're on the finances tab, and when you select make a payment, it'll offer you some different options, whether you want to pay via credit card or direct transfer from your bank. And it shows you the options for people who are within Canada versus out of Canada. So you can check that out on Acorn.
Yeah, so again, I know some of you will be doing that tomorrow once everything opens up. Can I opt out of any incidental fees? So we're unable to opt out of gym and building fees. You can opt out of health and dental fees. So if you have coverage somewhere else, you can, or you can do it regardless, but you can opt out. To begin the process, it's provided by the Graduate Student Union. So you can go to this website here, and I believe Emma will be posting that in the chat. So do feel free to check out this link if you're looking to opt out of those fees. Opting out and opting in periods are between September 1st to September 30th of 2021 for the fall semester, and January 1st to January 31st of the winter semester. So do check that out if you're looking, and you'll be reimbursed for the full amount. It is a bit of a process. You do have to go through a different website. It'll take you through a few different websites, but you do get the money back at the start of each year. I believe you have to opt in and out, or you have to opt out at the start of each semester. So I opted out in the fall, and I opted out in the winter semester. So you do have to do both if you're looking to opt out. So we're going to jump into, or are there any questions about opting in and out before we jump into our next part? No. Shelley?
I just was wondering if there is a way, because this is just about opting in and out, but to actually see what is covered. Because I'm on a private insurance plan, so I was just wondering, this might be better. So no, it's not.
Tony's shaking her
Definitely
head.
not.
I was in contact. I don't know if the person's here that I was, or no, this was a second year student. I was in contact with the UTGSU about that, and they couldn't give me numbers, and I was asking for numbers and they wouldn't. So Catherine, go ahead.
Yeah, I was actually just looking into it today, and if you go to like the UTGSA website, they have like a link to the health and dental plan, and I printed it out. I can even hold it up real quick. They have like this neat, oh no, I didn't. Anyway, they have this like neat little PDF, and it like shows you a breakdown of everything, the percentages of like what you can get through pharmacy, through like healthcare professionals. So if you just go to the UTGSA website and then click on like student health benefits, they have a bunch of information there.
Great.
So, yeah, they'll give you a rough estimate of what is covered. But just take a look there. The UTGSU website will give you a breakdown of that.
Great.
Any other questions?
Sorry, I had a question. So it says opt in or out. So what if you don't, like, do you have to opt in if you're interested in it, or how does that work?
So when you pay for your tuition, you pay for it, and then it's a reimbursement fee that you get back after.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, it's kind of just poor phrasing. Essentially, everyone opts in the minute they pay their tuition. So it's built into your tuition fee, but you can get the money sent back if you're already covered elsewhere. And there was a question in the chat about it, and it's not necessarily to your Acorn. Like, you can have it set up as direct deposit, so it goes back to your bank account.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add a note. Somebody was asking about family plans. So you can add dependents onto your plan for additional fees. So I added the link to the health and dental plan. There's also a booklet. I think I sent another link that has some of the breakdowns of it. If you just go into the UTGSU website and go under the health and dental plan, that you'll have more information there.
You
Can
can
I also ask a question?
Oh, sorry. I was just answering a question in the chat. You can opt out regardless of if you're covered elsewhere. I should have said, like, you can just not have health or dental coverage, which is fine.
Is someone had a question?
Oh, yeah. Hi. I think I accidentally paid my deposit incorrectly because it never changed my status to registered. So I paid it a second time. And it says in my invoice 2021 overpayment, $300. And then I think I did that a second time. So I must be paying the deposit wrong, but I'm not exactly sure how to fix that.
That would probably be a good question to direct to the ORSS. And they can sort of do a walkthrough with you more thoroughly.
Yeah, if you're having difficulties with that, do get in contact. Yeah, like Emily said. That's
and did you mention the email address for them already, or is it on the website?
I believe it's on the website, but I think Emma can drop it in the chat. Tara, go ahead.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm sorry that I'm unable to share my video, but I was hoping that you could kindly please explain about the UTAPs, the program that is to assist with the difference of the expenses between the OSAP coverage and the fees and living expenses, the minimum.
Sorry, can you just clarify that question again, Tara?
The UTAPs, the UTAPS, I believe, that is financial assistance by University of Toronto.
I'm not too aware that, Antonia, do you?
So you're talking about like for financial aid?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, and it said that all of the students who have applied for OSAP will be automatically considered for that as well.
Exactly.
Can you please just explain more about that, and like what are the odds of actually being eligible for that, and will it cover the whole difference between the amount that we need to have, and yeah, and the OSAP.
Okay, so the U-Tax is a bursary that is provided, and it's given to you based on your financial needs. So if you've done OSAP, that information the school would have, and then we assess it. So not everybody that goes on OSAP automatically gets it. So the school, I believe it's the School of Graduate Studies, they assess your financial needs based on the information they've received. And if you are eligible, it just automatically gets sent to you. I can't speak to how much because I believe it might be different for different people, just like OSAP is different for different people. But it's like a bursary that is given to you, and the school assesses you and then sends you the money, and they will send you an email and give you all that detail. But I can't speak to how much because again, it could be different for different people, and I can't speak to when it's going to actually arrive. It might not arrive before that deadline of September 30th. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
So I believe also for our program, you can get in contact with Anne-Marie Kwan. I'm just looking for her email here. I believe she does help with financial assistance. I'm just looking for her email quickly right now. And you could
you can continue. I'll find her email and add it to the link.
Great, thank you. Manmeet, go ahead.
Hi, sorry, pardon my voice. I'm not feeling too good, but I do have a question about like living on campus. If you can provide any information on that. Are there any residences OISE campus, like when we do to in person? Is there anything available to stay on campus?
So I know there are residences on campus. I don't think there's anything OISE specific. From what I'm aware of, you can be requested to be placed somewhere, or be placed, or you will be placed somewhere. I know some folks who were at Hart House last year. I'm not too familiar with the process myself, but I know there is availability to having access to residency if you do require it.
Okay, do you know who I can speak to in regards to that?
Just give me a second. I can pull it up for you and I can get it back to you. Did you want to privately message me your email, privately message me your email, and I can send you a follow-up email with some resources.
Perfect, thank you.
No problem. So I didn't finish my point on Tara. This is for anyone. Anne-Marie Kwan, I know, has been helpful for other people as well. So we will get you her information. I don't know if I know Antonia said she was going to post it, and she did. So it's anne-marie.kwan@utoronto.ca. So do feel free to get in contact with her if there is financial assistance that you do need. So, okay, perfect.
Brian, I'm seeing a couple of miscellaneous questions in the chat, so maybe it's a good time to move on, and hopefully some of those things will be cleared up as we go ahead.
Yeah, so we're gonna jump into our next part. So we're gonna get back to that, and you will have a time at the end for Q&A. We have some frequently asked questions that we have got from a lot of you that we would love to answer. So what we'll do is we'll just get into a quick part where we will give you a chance to answer questions, just so that we can stay on time. we do respect your time and we want to stick to the time as much as possible. Okay, here we go. All right, so time management. A lot of students will come into this thinking there's a lot of courses. If you're in primary, junior, you're going to have 7 courses. If you're in the teaching in Catholic schools, that's going to add another course to your time. So how do we all manage our time and able to create better success for us, especially because you're going to, around the time that you have your practicums, you're going to have to start thinking about that as well, how that factors into your program planning, how that factors into your day. So there's a lot that needs to do with time management. So I'll go over mine quickly, and we can a few of us can share as well. So how I managed my time in first year was I had a daily planner. There's stuff that you have to do, especially being online, asynchronous activities. So I kept my planner in here. My daily tasks are in here. I know what I have to do. I get it done. And you're also finding tools that help you get it done. So do you also, with this, I use my Google Calendar to help me stay on track, to make sure I'm meeting deadlines, to make sure that we're figuring everything out. You know, the MTSA, we have a Google Calendar that we have together. And last but not least, you will all be cohorted. What I found very useful was leaning on each other sometimes. So sometimes I would reach out to Antonia or Angela, or we'd also reach out to each other. And your cohort's going to be it's going to be very helpful in finding dates. There was someone in our cohort who created a list. We were all swamped at one point, and this person created a list of assignments and small activities that we had to do. So we kind of put it together, or she put it together, and it really helped all of us. So that was a tip and trick that I went through. That's what I used. I'm going to call on Catherine. Catherine, go ahead.
Sorry, I was reading the chat. What did you say?
No, what did you find that helped you manage your time throughout your?
Oh, yeah, very similar to the things you've been saying. I used a lot of Google Calendar to keep track of everything. I also have a handy dandy planner that I keep everything in. I also have a whiteboard that I use to write down all of my due dates onto, and to keep track of what was due when and where I wanted to prioritize things as well. So yeah, very similar tools.
Yeah. And I'm gonna, Emily.
Brian, did you freeze?
I froze?
I don't know. You said my name quite abruptly. Maybe just to try to answer a handful of these questions at the same time and also speak to time management. So a few things. There aren't really tests in the program unless you are taking the Math Plus course. There might be some quizzes that are associated with the math content specifically, not pedagogically. And as far as formal papers go, there's a handful, but not a lot of them. A lot of the assessments are really aimed at practicality and sort of things that would be relevant to your teaching practice, and then some reflections. So hopefully that helps to ease some of the concern there. Additionally, there is a lot of student facilitated assessment. So you're leading seminars with groups of folks in your cohort, in which case there are different dates that you can sign up for. So be strategic with those things. If you know you'll have to do 3 different seminars, try not to sign up for 3 in the same week. And then beyond that, while of course physical and digital planning tools are really important, give yourself some grace. When you're planning your time, what are the things that you have to get done, and what are the things that would be nice to get done? Also, you'll have classes, you'll have a morning class, a lunch hour, and an afternoon class. And it can be really tempting to say, oh, I have this hour between classes, I can get XYZ done, or I can schedule this meeting. Your lunch hour is sacred. Take that time to rest, take that time to eat, move your body, decompress, especially with being on Zoom as much as we will be for at least the fall term. It's essential that you're caring for yourself first. At the end of the day, the professors are going to be incredibly flexible when it comes to deadlines. I personally haven't encountered anybody who's been really rigid they're like, as long as I have the assignment before I have to submit my grades, we're good to go. So hopefully that helps, but definitely put yourself and your health first and everything will be okay with time management.
And just to follow up on what Emily just said, that deadline thing goes for every class except research. Research is the only class, everything that's deadline, you need to get that in. So
I'm going to jump to Emma and then Angela. There are people who are asking you how you manage your time. So Emma, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say we're kind of speaking in terms of time management, but a lot of people in the chat are asking questions about workload, which is technically a different question. So would you like to address that now, or would we like to let our other folks who have their hands raised ask their questions first?
So we're going to get to questions at the end, just because we want to push through. So about workload, we'll talk about workload towards the end. So Angela, did you want to jump in and talk about time management in relation to your personal situation, being a mom?
Sure.
And a student?
Yeah, no problem, Brian. Okay, so typically with the program, we had a day off once a week. So I found pretty much with the agenda, having an agenda to organize everything, as well as we were lucky too. One of the things that wasn't mentioned is our cohort put a face group and a WhatsApp chat. So like a lot of us are really good with supporting each other on that. Any questions I had no problems with my cohort. As well as my kids are in school. So it was nice, especially being online, because I was able to drop them off, come home, do some schoolwork, do my classes. In between the lunch hour break, I would do some assignments and then go pick them up at the end of the day. And then I would typically have my Fridays off. So that's typically when I would focus on assignments, as well as I find, because the courses, many of them are throughout the year, they tend to space out assignments more. So for myself, who took child development in my undergrad, I found the master's program to be better organized for giving you enough time to finish assignments, if that helps. Okay, one question here. Did you find Fridays enough to complete your assignments? To be honest, I found the assignments to be pretty, I mean, you will have some that are really time consuming, but for the most part, I found the assignments, I was able to manage the best I could, as well as I do have a husband who was able to help as well with supporting me. So if there was like a weekend that I would need, like a day or two or whatever it would be, he was willing to help. So I think if you have a support system as well to help you, that would be great. If not, you'll manage. I'm telling you, it's not too bad. I thought it would be worse than what it was. So just to ease any moms or even anybody who has some anxiety coming into this, it's really, you'll get through it. We all did. And the good thing is the professor, they all want to see you succeed. So they're all really, really good and supportive. So with your cohort, as well as your professors, you're going to do great.
Not to get anybody who has anxiety charged, it's a lot of work, everyone. It's a lot of work. So yes, your professors are understanding, and your cohort reps and your cohort will support you, and hopefully people at home would support you. But it is a lot of work. So that time management piece is very important. Because even if, yes, your professor will give you extensions and stuff like that, things will pile up at the end, and then you might have too much things to do, right? So it's a lot of work. So it is important to start with the time management and start figuring out how you're going to go about things right off the bat. The good thing is you're going to get your outline. Is that what it's called? I can't remember. You're going to get it right off the bat on the first day. So you will see all the dates that things are due. And then you just, I'll put that in your agenda or whatever form of to-do list that you have. Sorry, Brian.
Thank you, and Tony, that was a perfect piece. If you have your hand raised, we promise we'll get to you at the end. If you can write your question down on a piece of paper or write in a doc, we promise we'll get to you at the end. We just want to jump through just so we make sure we get through everything, and that people who have their questions answered at the end, if we're over time, they can doc out. But we promise we'll get back to you. Sara wanted to say something quickly. Go ahead.
Yeah, so thanks. I think Angela and Antonio also mentioned that like part of if you want to work, so some people are saying that they want to work or is working a good idea. You can. I work part-time as well, but once again, time management is the biggest thing. You can't procrastinate some of these assignments and wait last minute. There are also quite a few group projects, so you don't always get the luxury of procrastinating because you have to, especially working online, you have to coordinate times with other people who are in your group. So I would say if you're planning to work part time, do it mindfully with knowing how to time manage. In addition, some people are saying that your Fridays off. Remember, for practicum, you'll be working Monday to Friday, so you won't always get those Fridays. So you might have a bit of a time crunch then. Some people are asking questions about, it says online or in person on my Acorn. Are we all in person? So that's only for the winter session. Some of you, I think for the courses that are full year, it has to say in person just so that people know that you will be going in person in winter. But fall classes for everything is online. Okay, so hopefully that clears some stuff up.
So I just wanted to make a point about the winter term, hopefully winter term. As we know, we're living in a pandemic. Things change every day, and hopefully by Jan we can be in the building together. And the timings for practicum for first years, we'll get to the questions later. But I just want to let you know, for if you're thinking about work and you have to prepare ahead of time, November, I believe for first years. So for first years, it's November and Feb. I think that you're still sticking by that schedule. So realize you're Monday to Friday during that time. So I'm going to jump back to the slides. Our next one is how to use Pepper. I know some of you have gotten into Pepper, but we kind of just want to show you how it all works. I am going to just share my screen to get straight to Pepper. And here we go. So welcome to Pepper. This is how it looks. You can see who's online. So you can see Dr. ABC here is online. You can see I'm online. It's an interesting website in its build. What you can do here is you can, if you need to send them at the start of the program when you don't know anyone and you're looking to reach out to people, you message people on Pepper. But you also can, this is how you can get in contact with your profs, is use this. What you can do is you can hit new message, and let's say I want to send a message to, let's say Angela. Sorry. So I click on Angela Retta, I hit done, I type my message, and usually people are quite formal on this. So I say, hi, Angela, test, test, and Brian. So, and you would hit send, I'm sorry, Angela, to add to your emails. And this normally goes through emails. Make sure your preferences sent to your emails. So again, this gets sent to Angela, and Angela would go, hit private message inbox, and she would see it here. Sometimes your profs will send you a message here. So you can see Rebecca Hughes would send us all messages in her cohort. So yeah, that's a great way. So as you can see, some of my fall courses have shown up here. So let's go to great organization. So also, these aren't all organized the same way. All your Pepper sites will be different. So you will have to adjust to that. We've talked to faculty time and time again about making it so that things are similar and just making our lives easier. And so they do understand that. They hear where we're coming from, and they're trying when they're teaching the professors how to teach, that they are aware of what they have to teach and how their organization is on Pepper. So what you're going to have here is normally the course outline is here at the top somewhere. Again, like I said, they will all be different. News and updates will have this bullhorn here. Your blue folders like this are always private. So this is an asynchronous activity that I posted here. So I posted it here and I said new note, and I posted it here, and I know that's going to be a Dropbox for my professor to see, Dr. ABC, and he will be able to see that that I posted that. If you want to, let's say, let's say I want to post something, mental health and education, I'm going to put a new note. And there's, see here, when you're posting a note versus posting a, let's say something in a Dropbox, you can make it public or you can make it private. I have a funny story with Antonia. I posted something it was supposed to be private, but I posted it public. And so I got a call from Antonia. She's being like, she said, Brian, you need to change that to private. So just also realize your cohort will call you out on that. So again, make sure, you put a title when you're submitting something. You can put a message here. You can attach your files. So you go here and then you go choose files, and I can go choose from my millions of files on my computer here, which I need to organize right before the school starts. So again, if you want public, private, if you have any co-authors, so if I have any co-authors, anyone here from my cohort who I worked it on with, again, a way that you can just use Pepper. It takes a while. It's like a new website. Take your time, play around with it. Again, you're going to have multiple communities. So let's take law and ethics. So again, this is different than what you saw before, right? This will be a different layout, a different way it's organized. And Nick was able to, he put the readings here, whereas Dr. ABC, he had his readings just in one spot. So again, different professors like to do different things, but we knew what we had to do for each week. The lecture slides were also posted here, so you can take a look at what is posted.
Brian,
yeah.
Can you speak about the notifications?
Notifications, yes. You can see my screen, right, Antonia?
Yes, I can.
I want to make sure that my screen. So if you want to edit your notifications, you're going to go to my settings, notifications. Okay, so I have, so notify me when I receive a private message, notify me when someone replies to my notes, someone edits a note that I'm co-authoring, someone links to one of my notes. So it sends emails to your U of T account. So you can also add things, so you need to add what you can as things go on. So for specific courses, you can add things. So this is Research Hub. I don't know if the first years have a Research Hub yet, but let's take Spec Ed with Brenda. So intersession announcements, any announcements that came up, I would get an email about it. So you want to make sure that you have your notifications set to announcements from your professors. So let's say someone like Dr. ABC would send pertinent announcements. Those would get sent to your email, so you would be notified about it. You want to make sure you're going to be getting emails, right? In a graduate program, you are going to be getting more emails. So do make sure you're checking those emails, especially when they're from professors. And if you're getting too many emails, you can adjust things a little bit, but make sure you're getting what's important to you. Making sure you're receiving private messages so that you know when your professor gets back to you, so you can be in a good communication with them. When someone replies to one of your notes, someone edits something you're co-authoring. So make sure you have those notifications subscribed to. Another thing too is also your practicum section. Actually, sorry, that's something a little personal in there. So make sure you go to your practicum section and make sure you have your personal information in there that you need to have in there. Make sure if any preferences that you need to change can be put in there as well. So just make sure that you're updating that. Make sure you're putting your trainings in there, making sure, I believe it's the WSIB, and there was another one as well. So making sure you're putting anything pertinent in there. I know there's also COVID training for specific boards. So do also make sure you're getting notifications or updating what's important in that section as well. So that's my bit for Pepper. Did I miss anything? Anything else I need to cover in Pepper?
Brian, the only two things I would say are show how to hyperlink within a Pepper post, and also show how to expand a Pepper note pop-up window for easier reading, because I know some folks at the end of intersession were like, what, you can make that box bigger? And I was like, yeah, dude, of course you can. And so that just for accessibility purposes might be really helpful.
Ellie, I'm learning that for the first time today. Thank you.
So again, with a message, it's quite simple. I won't send you a message, Antonia, but let's say I want to send one to her. You can drag here and make it bigger. And so again, just go to the corner here and drag bottom right corner just to make things bigger. To add a hyperlink, hold on, oh, wrong one. Give me 2 seconds. So let's say I want to post something in anti-discrim again. Okay, my paper is there. So new note. What did you mean about the hyperlink? Oh, sorry, the hyperlink. Yeah.
You're hovering right there. So a lot of your assignments you may be completing using the G Suite, whether that's Google Slides or Google Documents, because there is a lot of collaborative work in the program, and that just makes things super convenient. It's also really convenient for folks who are reading your work if you insert the hyperlink. So to do so, you just click that little icon that Brian opened, copy paste in your URL, and that'll insert a hyperlink. Now, if Brian were to type anything, highlight it, and then click that URL icon, that text would be turned into a hyperlink. So it would not read as URL, simply put. He's doing a demo.
So let's say you want to promote the MTSA's website on Pepper. You can click on the hyperlink here, and you could and it would insert it into your Pepper message. So again, like even assignments that I've had to do with some folks, like, you know, I've had to post YouTube videos, I've had to post Google Slides, like Emily mentioned. That's a way that you insert that there. Emma, go ahead.
Yeah, just adding on to what Emily said, another cool thing is that you can actually link to other people's Pepper notes. So if you're, say, like writing a response and I'm saying like, oh, I agree with Brian where he said this, I can actually hyperlink Brian's name and link it to his note where he was talking in a discussion about something. So I can show that if you want, or Brian can, whatever works.
You know what? Let's test my my Pepper abilities without sending something to everyone.
So is Pepper basically everything that happens in a class in one place? Like, so you can go there for, like, so if you want to check where you are with assignments or something, you just check that class in Pepper and everything is there. It's like where everything lives.
Yeah. So yeah. Emma, did you want to do that? I think you'd be better than me at that because my Pepper knowledge isn't as great as yours. So you'll be mostly using Pepper for most of your courses. All your information, your readings, your slides, your and are you able to share your screen? Like, okay, I just want to make sure it's enabled for you.
Is that also how you hand in assignments and stuff?
Yeah, that's also how you hand in assignments, but do be advised, the University of Toronto is the University of Toronto, and I know some of you are University of Toronto grads. You will be able to, some courses will use Quarkus. So it really depends on the prof. I've had 2 professors use Quarkus. So even if you didn't like Quarkus in your undergrad, you still might have to use it. And like Sara mentioned, we did have to use it for research. There's a workshop that we had to do for research, as well as when we edited people's papers, it will be there. So go ahead, Emma, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, so just that thing I was talking about, and I'll also kind of elaborate on what Emily was talking about. So instead of like having a massive URL sometimes, like I could just type out, for example, say I'm like linking the MTSA website, I can highlight it, then click this URL thing, insert the hyperlink, and it'll just make those words the hyperlink instead, so that you don't have a really long URL going on in your post. But also, if you take a look, I'll just use one of my cohort pals as an example. We see here there's like a reply to a post and it says by Carmen, but there's also a number right here. It says number 963. So say I'm typing a response and I'm saying like, I really agree with Carmen when she said da da da. I can highlight Carmen, click this spot where it says link to a website. It also says link to a Pepper note. So that's where I can type that 963. And then if I click on Carmen's name, it'll take me to her Pepper post so that you can go right to what she was talking about in the discussion. I'm not going to post it because this is for an actual class, but yeah, that's the gist of it.
Antonia, I'm in the same boat as you. We didn't know. Angela, did you know it? Nope. Okay, maybe our cohort, maybe it's okay, maybe our cohort didn't get taught that. Okay, so we're 281's in the clear. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the slides. Thank you so much, Emma and Emily, for that important walkthrough. Okay, so I presume, you know, we're a year and a half into a pandemic. 95, if not more, % of you have used Zoom. So I just want to walk you through some Zoom etiquette, and I'm going to show you how you can make your own Zoom room. Wow, you can make your own Zoom room. You're going to have your own professional Zoom in about a week, hopefully. So Zoom etiquette. So if you want to learn how to use Zoom, Education Commons at OISE does have some resources that you can have access to. So do take a look at that. You can set up one through them, or there's an easier way to do it, which I'll explain in a second. So before class, so like I believe Shelly asked, will everything be on Pepper? Don't mean to call you out, Shelly, sorry about that. You're gonna locate where your Zoom link is. So don't, if you have class at 1 or 1:30, don't be going at 12:58 or 1:28 to go look for your link. Make sure you're prepared ahead of time. Make sure you get on early, a little earlier, so you can get to meet your prof. So you can, you know, show that you're a good student, that you're getting on early and being prepared. So do feel free to, or do look for your Zoom link. Look for a comfortable space, although we know that some of you, you know, we're in a pandemic, we're all at home. Some of us have kids, some of us have family members that you have to take care of. If you're not in a comfortable space, that's okay. You know, if you need to move around based on your ability, you know, profs will understand. You know, sometimes it's also hard to sit during this time. Like it's hard, and you know, it's a lot to ask for to be sitting for a lot of time. If you need to stand, you can stand. There will be breaks as well. Check your internet as well in the morning, audio and video connection. Just make sure that's all set up, especially set up right before class starts. Like maybe you need to, you know, go to the dollar store or like Canada Computers and buy a microphone, or, you know, a cheap set of speakers so things work a little better. So get familiar with the tools. So what we did in our cohort for one of our profs for our last class, we put on the Zoom filters, and she had a good laugh out of that. You know, figuring how to raise your hand. Raising your hand on Zoom is more effective than raising your hand on that, because you go to the top of you're the top window, top Zoom window. So do figure out how to use that. That is a very effective tool, as opposed to just keeping your hand raised. You know, figuring out how to share your screen. Again, once they teach you how you're going to create the Zoom room, you might want to do that yourself when you create it, so you're able to share your screen for when you have to do a presentation. Log on in a timely manner. If you're going to be late for a significant time, do let your professor know. They do understand you do have appointments, you do have things to take care of. I myself have had to, you know, miss class to take care of a family member. So your professors are understanding. They're also human. They're also living through the pandemic. So, and then also complete your appropriate readings. Your readings will relate to the subject material. Read them. They are important. They will help you understand the material better. and will help when you have to make connections. There's a lot of participation marks for your courses, but it's based off of relevant feedback. It's not based off of anecdotal feedback of what you heard. They want to know what you can pull for them reading. So let's say, you know, I'm reading something from Angela Vemich or Shelley Murphy. Let's say Shelley Murphy at OISE. I want to say, in Shelley Murphy's article, she referenced this about mindfulness, or she referenced this about, I think she also had something about ADHD. So you want to reference when you're speaking about what your readings are, highlight, circle, mention, look at important points, and you can even have discussions in your breakout rooms about them. So do complete your readings. If you are in a crunch where you have a million assignments due, and you wake up in the morning, you're like, I forgot to do my readings, read the beginning, and then read the first sentence of the middle paragraphs, and read the conclusions. But that's if you're in a crunch, because you're going to need to know the information, because it'll be pertinent to what you're going to be reflecting on. And you're also going to need to reflect on some that's for final assignments. I know for my anti-discrim course, that was my most relevant course, that in my final assignment, and even in my tech course, I did have to reference the readings. So it's good that you have to have a good knowledge on that ahead of time. During class, make sure you're on mute. Everyone's doing a great job with that tonight. So I don't think you guys are going to have issues. I have a funny story is I have sighed. I meant to be on mute. I don't know how I was not on mute, but it happens. But just make sure you're checking to make sure you're on mute. So ensure your video background is appropriate. You know, if it's, you know, messy, or if it's not the greatest, you might want to use or if you're moving, you might want to use a virtual background, as Antonia is using, and we can show you how to set that up as well. Utilize the raise hand feature. Also be mindful of when you're using the chat, and also you will have your own private chats with your colleagues. So just be mindful of what you're saying in those chats, and take notes if applicable. I do take notes here and there. They're important notes that you need to take. So have a computer nearby, or if you have a second screen, or if you have a document open, do take notes on pertinent information that you think is important. Antonia, go ahead.
I also want to mention that you do not have to have your camera on for whatever reason, whether or not you're participating, you know, you're there, you can react with your reactions, but do not feel like you have to have your camera on. And this is specifically also because we are in our personal lives, we're at home. Someone could be walking by with maybe a shirt off, you know, or maybe you're from an Islam religion and you don't want to put on your hijab, or maybe your mom doesn't want to put on her hijab. She doesn't have to because you're on a Zoom call. So don't feel that you need to have your camera on.
So the professors will say you have an invitation to have your camera on. Antonia, Angela, and I had an experience where it wasn't the greatest, but you know, we did figure that out and say that, you know, and turned it out, made it so that it was an invitation. It's an invitation. You don't have to turn it on. It's nice to turn it on just to see people's faces and to make if you're on one side, if you put yourself in the shoes of the professor as well, if you're able to, and realize that, you know, they want to make sure, and they want to be engaged with you, you know, but if you're unable to, you're unable to, and you know, they will respect that. If you're having a bad day, sometimes you need to turn your camera off. We understand the difficulties of living in a pandemic. So, okay, so that is during class. After class, you will have, you can ask questions. Most professors make time after class to have a conversation. Some hold office hours right after class, and that's your time to chat with them, to ask them about any questions that you have about the course material. They're willing to answer questions, and if they don't, then set up a time with them. Send them an email. They're normally good when you set up an email. Set up a time with them. Let them know your availability. Check the protocols for missed classes in your syllabus. Those will be available as well. Check Pepper for work after class, along with asynchronous material as well.
Sorry, Brian,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Before we move on, I think this is a good time to address one of the questions in the chat because it's closely associated with this stuff here. Maeve has asked what a typical class looks like and what can be expected. And I think this is important because it kind of goes back to those questions about time management and workload. It is unlikely that you will be on Zoom for a full 3 hours for every single class. It will happen, but that will probably be anomalous. Most often, the professors will try to have you off Zoom within the first couple of hours, or if it is a course that takes place twice a week, it might be a synchronous day or an asynchronous day. It will vary. So this is where the time management comes in. Be sure to document wherever you plan your time, whether or not you are expected to be joining class synchronously, or if it's going to be an asynchronous period of time, because we definitely had lots of questions in our WhatsApp. Are we supposed to be on Zoom for anti-discrim today? No, that's next week. And you know, it's just easier to have it written down in one place, maybe a cohort calendar. And there are breaks, even if you're only on Zoom for an hour and a half to 2 hours, the instructors are mindful. They too want eyeball breaks and movement breaks and snack or beverage breaks. But if you are finding that it is too long at a time, because it is also easy for the instructors to get carried away occasionally, they want to know from you if you need more time. Every instructor that our cohort has had has been very receptive to us saying, hey, just like 5 minutes between your talking time in our breakout room would be incredibly helpful in terms of our engagement and just overall energy. You know, we're all adults at this point. You have agency, so vocalize your needs. They want to hear those things. Yeah. Thanks, Brian.
Emma, go ahead.
Just adding on to what Emily's already said. I will say that you can expect in a typical class, I mean, there's usually some sort of information sharing, like often a lecture, I'm not gonna lie, like there is lecture components. And you can typically expect like breakout room sessions in each class. Like, I mean, most of the classes I've taken, there has been some component of discussion, whether it be in breakout rooms or just via the chat or using some type of interactive software like Pear Deck or Nearpod or something. So that is something you can expect in your classes. But like Antonia said, that does not mean you always have to be on mic, on camera. Like you can set your own limits with that. It's just the way some of these classes run.
Catherine, go ahead.
Yeah, I also just wanted to add on, normally in like normal times, classes are 3 hours. So nobody wants to be on Zoom for 3 hours, profs included. So as people have already mentioned in the chat that classes are typically an hour and a half to 2 hours. As Emily said, they might be 3 hours. Hopefully you'll never have to experience that. But profs usually, with the shortened lecture time, they will typically have you do asynchronous work after class then. That will be due like not that day, it'll be due later in the week, but that is still part of the 3 hours of class time that you would have normally had. So I think in some profs' mind, the asynchronous work isn't necessarily viewed as an additional assignment. It's just viewed as you're not in class for this 1 hour. So this is how we're supplementing that information that you would have gotten elsewhere. So just so you know that too.
I also want to mention while we're talking about the chat that you can privately message people in your class and your cohort. Still be mindful that the professors still have access to everything, whether or not it's private. So watch what you're saying in the class.
Yeah, don't go bad mouthing the prof because that can you can end up in trouble, right? So be mindful of what you say. Again, you are in a professional master's degree, and being professional is always very important to follow. Thank you everyone for your contributions. So I'm going to jump into the next part on how to make a Zoom. There's a couple different ways. You can check out this, and we'll post this later, and I think Emma will also post this in the chat. I created a video for all of you how to create it, just because I think it's really important for you all. How many Zoom rooms I've created myself, I can't count. So I'm going to figure out how to share this here. I'm going to stop the share quickly. Okay. Just give me 2 seconds. Okay, so most of you, I assume, will see something like this. So you can, if you're in a meeting, you can schedule another meeting. So you can go and play around with the settings, make sure it's Eastern Standard Time. It really helps. So like I said, Brian Hendricks' Zoom.
Sorry, Brian, are we supposed to be looking at something? Because we only have that slide.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let me stop. Thank you, Antonia. Okay. Can you see the Zoom settings or no? Nope. Okay. That's because
It's still your slide.
All right, so that's okay. You can check out that video later. I think the issue is that Zoom has made it that you can't show that part on Zoom if you're ever sharing your screen. So that might be the issue. So what you can do is if you want to schedule it just by using the browser, you can go to utoronto.zoom.us and it will take you here. Actually, that sent me to the wrong website. Okay, so you're going to go to utoronto.zoom.us. You're going to log in. Excuse me. I don't know where my home phone is, but give me a second. Sorry about that. So you're going to hit, and again, that's part of what you learn about everyone being at home is that, you know, people will have disruptions and sometimes problem-solving disruption. Can everyone see this screen now? It says University of Toronto. Okay, so you're going to hit log into Zoom, and you're going to log in with your user ID or with your user ID and join ID. So I'm going to just cheat here and use my cookies. And so you should be able to log in from here. And so from there, you will access your own now professional Zoom. I believe you can host I believe it's either 100 people or 300 people with this. I don't think anyone should need to have that big of a room. But so I don't know why this hasn't been changed, but so you can set this to Eastern Standard Time. Just make sure in your settings you set to that. It makes your life a lot easier. If you want to change it to the 24-hour format, I know some people use that. Have access to your own personal room. And just make sure all your settings are correct here. And so you're going to go to meetings. And let's say you want to schedule a meeting. So MTSA meeting I have here. And, you know, I hit start and I would start a meeting. If I have, you know, I could have my personal room, which is easy. I just start this. You know, I can just copy the link here and send it to you all. And you can access my personal room. Or if I were to start up another link and, you know, you could join from there. That's a way to do it. If you want to schedule a meeting without using the app, you can hit schedule meeting and you could just fill in all this information. If you want to skip putting in the times, what you can do is make it a recurring meeting. And then I'm going to eliminate the password. No, that's not I'm looking for something specific. Hold on. So yeah, you'd make it recurring. And then, hold on, waiting room. There's something I need to hit. Anyway, so this is, you can play around with this and find a way to make it, and just play around with the settings just to make your life a little easier. And, you know, this is your way that you can get access to your own Zoom. So play around, go ahead. It's, you know, you're gonna need to use this a couple times. And again, you could play around with the app, the Zoom app as well. and get logged in with your UToronto or with your user ID. And I know some people had questions about the user ID and stuff like that. So that's that part. I just want to get to the slides. Give me a second. Okay, so then our next part that we have is about references and making connections. Or actually, before we jump into that, just because we're here on Zoom together, just kind of walk you through Zoom. So you have on your right side, you should see the participants. Obviously, you have your chat. If you click on a name, double click on a name, sorry, you can chat with that person individually. So I've double clicked on Emma. I could chat with her privately. Sometimes you need to do that with a professor to say, hey, I need to jump away. I have to do this. So that's something you could do. At the bottom, again, you can take a look at reactions. You can see the raised hand. I could give a thumbs up to all of you for being accepted into this program. If you're telling me I'm going too slow, don't do this to your professors, but you can change, you can click the move faster button. As you can see, I just removed that. Share screens in the middle, and you can also share your audio. So when you're able to make your own Zoom, do play around with the settings and find ways that you can share your own audio. I found that was very important for me. I did a virtual kindergarten practicum and they wanted music all the time. So I had to figure out how to share my audio. So do take a look at that. So yeah, that's the basis in Zoom. So we're going to talk about references and building connections. So I'm going to just power through right now on the slides. Thank you, Antonia, for giving me a time stamp. Give me 2 seconds. Again, technology is not always your best friend, and you're going to experience that throughout the program. I didn't want it from the beginning. Sorry, everyone. Okay, so connecting with professors. Professors will be, again, your main point of contact. So you will also need to get in contact with them about, they might need to be your reference for something, whether it would be, sorry, no, I just want to present from here. Ask them questions, reach out to them. If you're reach lines with your professor, do feel free to reach out to them. Professors can be helpful in applying for grants and scholarships. Do create a professional relationship with them. In order for professors to be references for your school boards, though, for school board applications, they need to see you teach during your practicum. So if you have a good relationship with them, invite them to your practicum. Make sure you include your associate teacher in that process as well. And again, just make sure you get them in to see you teach. So again, in your cohort, you're going to have, so in your works, if you look back on your workplaces, your family, regardless, there's going to be some conflict that may occur. It could be minor as well. So make sure that you deal with conflict in the right way. So if conflict occurs in your cohort or with professor, follow best practices, be mindful of online conversations and knowing who to speak to and how to speak to. If you get an angry, if you see an email or if you see a mark you don't like, wait 24 hours. If conflicts arise and you're if you're in the primary division, reach out to Dr. Mary Reed at mary.reed@utoronto.ca. For secondary, it's actually not Dr. Sherry Sengupta. Do reach out to Dr. David Montemero. He's your contact for secondary. Again, I'm not saying conflict happens all the time, but conflict will happen. It's inevitable. We're humans. So your cohort lead, you'll be assigned a cohort lead. I don't know if some of you have met your cohort lead yet, but do contact them if issues arise. Again, be mindful of approaches that's taken and how those can affect the community and how your own actions can affect the community. Conversations online and on social media can be brought up as well. Community building is important to help each other cope throughout the year. Bitmojis, schedule development, hangouts, letter exchange. We have a party planning committee in our own cohort. Also, use social media, create a Facebook chat, create a WhatsApp chat, because not everyone uses Facebook, so WhatsApp might be best, although it still uses Facebook. Do feel that you can access those. The OISE mentorship program is a way that, and you got to receive an email invitation. You know your program, you can be matched with one-to-one with an alumni in your field, an opportunity to discuss shared interests and experiences. They can also give you advice and help in your experiences in your program as they have walked similar roads. The MTSA mentorship program is something we're starting up, which gives you the opportunity to attend workshops and events that are catered towards your own experiences or experiences that you will experience in your program. So our first one, I want to say, is mid-October, and it will be a pre-practicum event. We are inviting an alumni, we're inviting a second-year student, one of which you may be seeing tonight, and the third one will be an associate teacher. So you get the perspective from alumni, a second-year student, and an associate teacher, and kind of best practices. So that'll be October, that'll be mid-October. This is something that we're working on actively right now, and we're working with the OISE alumni community to get you guests that will help you towards your own development, along with other events that we'll be having as well. So research and funding, and Tony, I'm going to call on you just to let you know. So research, so types of research that you'll be using. So you'll be writing research papers. You'll be using APA referencing. Emily said she'll be hosting a APA workshop on how to use it in the fall. So what you're going to be doing is usually your annotated bibliography is due in October. Your draft is due normally in January. You're going to have a peer review process and a final draft that is normally due in February. In your syllabus, you will see these deadlines. They might be different than what you're seeing right now, but this should be generally. I followed what we were given by faculty. So you're going to have two opportunities for funding that faculty will be hosting workshops on. Dr. Vamich does host workshops. So your deadline to apply, so what it is your Social Sciences and Humanity Research Council of Canada. People call it NSERC or SHIRC. I call it CGSM. So there's CGS and there's OGS. So I just say CGSM and OGSM just to make it easier instead of saying SHIRC or spelling out SHIRC. So normally the deadline to apply is December 1st. So these deadlines will be sent to you ahead of time. You have to submit a one-page plan of study with your official transcripts with your, you need to submit your Canadian Commons CV. You have to have reference assessments and include two professors from your current, from a professor who you're interacting with right now. And if you're looking for financial assistance, that's a lot of money. So I applied myself. I believe Laura applied and she got it. Do apply. In 2021, 10 MT students were awarded the SHIRC scholarship. So look out for information sessions from Michelle Pon and from others as well. Angela Vemich will also be sending stuff out as well. OGS, it's a little less money, but it's still a substantial amount of money. You can use the same proposal you used for OGS, or the same one that you used for SHIRC for OGS with some minor tweaks. The deadline depends on the graduate unit. So ours this past year was March. You need an outline of your proposed research, so one page, unofficial transcripts, and reference assessments. My OGS was better than my SHIRC, but I didn't get either. That's okay. They're very, very, very competitive. So again, if you're looking for funding, it's a great, great way that you can apply. It really also helps you develop your research ahead of time. I was so grateful I did that because it took steps away from my literature review that I had to do, or that you will all have to do as well. Tips for research and funding: start considering some topics of interest to you over the summer. So consider right now. establish a system that works for you, gathering literary articles. So, but also make sure you're looking for, am I blanking on the word? You're looking for, someone's gonna have to help me. I'm just looking for a word. Pardon?
Is it peer reviewed?
You're looking for peer reviewed, but the ones that are also actually, you're not looking for literature reviews.
Empirical.
Empirical.
Thank you. I was blanking on that. You're looking for empirical studies, so make sure when you're doing the research, you're looking through it, making sure it's empirical. So apply for funding. The worst that happens to you is you don't receive it, but you'll be way ahead, as Stephen says. Take a look at exemplars in the MTA office. Unfortunately, we're not there right now, but I can talk to Angela and see if there's a way that we can provide you with that. Contact your references early, attend writing workshops, especially for grant writing or synthesizing literature. Just a quick note, it's only available in first year to apply for these. So I just want to make a quick note. Antonia, did you want to mention anything about the SSHRC application or OGS application?
I think you covered everything, Brian. It's important to start right off the bat. It's something that you're passionate about. So try to, because it's something that has to be relevant and something that's passionate about and something that will make a difference in the world that we live in right now. So whatever topics you're doing, if you want to win, sorry, Brian, you have to make sure it's something, that you're passionate about. In regards to workshops, there's a lot of workshops. Yes, Angela does host one for both OGS and SSHRC, but there are other workshops that have actually come up during the summer. I suggest you do as many workshops as you can when it comes to the write-in the proposal, because they will help a lot. And doing the proposal, whether or not you do receive the money, whether or not you're a recipient, helps you a lot for your research going forward. So that's another good reason to start taking a look at that information.
And Antonia was a winner of SSHRC, so that's why she said that's what she made the reference. Marcel, did you have a related question?
Yes, I do. I perhaps I'm jumping the gun here a little bit ahead, but I was wondering, how regarding to the topics for the research, do they have to be solely Canadian based, or they can be also international?
They can be international.
They can be international. And would that also be qualified for these awards?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Although the question that is asked is why would this research be beneficial for the Canadian government to invest in? So you think about that. So then are those implications from your research? How can that impact Canada? So can that impact them through foreign, maybe foreign aid isn't the best word, but foreign aid or direct assistance to other countries? Or can that have
perhaps even with like immigration or something regarding to that?
Yeah, but again, you're sticking to and making sure the topic relates to education as well, because it's for a specific department, which is education. So I'm going to jump quickly to our next part. So
one more thing. So sorry, Brian. One more thing. What Brian is saying is right, but remember, it is a Canadian-based award, right? So you should try to make reference to it. Also, this is not, I'm not advising this, but whatever you write your research proposal about, you don't necessarily need to, and if you, for example, win, you don't necessarily have to follow that same research. You can tweak it, you can write about something else. So just consider that. You wanna, just like in everything in life, if you want to win, you have to please the people that are giving you the money. You have to kind of
Yeah, that's why that's why I was thinking about that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, so we're gonna just jump into the next part. Thank you, Antonia. So questions about classes and just what are the grades between PJ, JI, IS? Will there be an overlap between streams in terms of classes? So I'm gonna just answer the first part. So for primary junior, that's kindergarten to grade 6. JI is grade 4 to grade 10, and then IS is grade 7 to grade 12. So that will be sort of how it will work. if you're going to have overlap, that would mostly be in your courses. You have 2 courses in your second year that'll be for your own choice, and that will be your own kind of your own selection. That's where you kind of intermingle with others. I do believe that if you have, sorry, your cohort is just your stream as well. That answers that last question. How will OISE accommodate if someone cannot attend the class at the precise schedule time? For instance, what if a student has work or other important commitments that take place? Will attendance be mandatory and will it count for marks? Or can students contact someone to find accommodation for this? So being part of this program, we've been constantly told that, you know, being in this program, you're making a commitment to be there. You know, your Monday to Friday is your professional commitment to this program. Your work hours are outside your work hours. If you do need accommodations, again, reach out to, you know, financial assistance, or you can reach out to this, you know, student success counselor, or even Jean and Robertson, and we can get you her email if you would like it. But again, your time is committed to that time. You know, 9 to 4 or 9 to 5, 9 to 4 mostly, or 9 to 4:30 is what you will be a part of. And some Fridays are mandatory, as mentioned in the chat earlier. Do we have midterms or exams after December 4th or during the winter break? No, but again, be mindful that there could be, just check your calendar and Pepper just to see if there's anything that could be during that time. I know second years do have a conference that we do have to attend. When will courses be uploaded to Acorn? Where will we be able to see our courses and other information in the future through Pepper? So you should be able to see it soon, especially I believe once you pay, it should show up pretty quickly. I know a lot of people are looking for it. They're trying to get it up as quickly as possible. That's the feedback that I got from leadership. And so it'll be, I don't have a specific day. I'm a student just like all of you. So that will come very, very soon.
Brian, I believe they have uploaded it already to Acorn.
So
I
most
think
of
a
you,
couple of days ago, they have uploaded it. So you should
But
be
I-
able to see your classes.
so do go on Acorn, but I did see some comments earlier and I've gotten emails about seeing that as well. So you will.
Right, we have a lot of slides of these questions, but I want folks to have time to answer their own questions. And some of these, I think, like we've kind of addressed already. There's like 50 of them. That's the only reason I interrupt.
So that's fine. So I just want to jump. So what we'll do is we'll jump to, okay, sorry, ignore this. Orientation schedule. So you have an orientation schedule that will be sent out to you. I just want to let you know about what we're doing from the MTSA on our end. You have a cohort scavenger hunt. So it'll be sent to you hopefully on the Monday of, let me just pull up my calendar. It'll be Monday, September 6th. We're hoping to get it out by. It's a scavenger hunt that you can do with your cohort, and there's prizes for every single person in the cohort. There's a games night, cross cohort fun, again, where you can win prizes as well. An escape room on September 10th from 7 to 9. So this is just the informal stuff. You don't have to attend this, but it's a great way to meet each other. You know, there are going to be workshops and mandatory things you have to attend for orientation that will be sent out to you. And a great workshop you can sign up for is the CBT workshop that Sara has been working on. Sara, go ahead. I see your hand up.
No, that was all I wanted to say, just to shout it out. It is optional. There's going to be 2 drop-in links for that. So you can come, I think it's like 12 to 1:30 and then 2 to something. But those will come out later, but it is optional. But I think I wanted to mention it because it's about CBT and mental health. And a lot of people might be going with that for their research. So mental health and education is really important. So I think if you're interested at all in mental health, it could be helpful to attend that. And those links will also be posted on the MTSA website, and they'll also be sent out soon. Thanks, Brian. That's all.
No problem. And also, just for those who don't know, I don't think either of us said it. CBT stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. It's a relatively new, relatively effective way to treat mental health issues in ways that, you know, the workshop can provide ways that we as educators can use it, because there's obviously a lot of stress being in the classroom, especially during COVID, and ways, students can use it, ways that that it can be incorporated into lives of many folks. I'm going to pass this over to Antonia, speaking about an initiative working with Professor Montemero. Go ahead, Antonia.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We already know my name is Antonia Ikeme. I am in the PJ division in my second year. I'm also currently working as a project co-coordinator and a research assistant with David Montemuro, who is a professor at OISE. And he's also a member of the MT leadership. And with Rukia Mohammed, who is a PhD student in the Social Justice Department and an equity anti-oppression coach with the Toronto District School Board. She's also the coordinator for the Toronto District School Board Center of Black Excellence. So this coming year, we will be introducing a new initiative called Access Pathways for Black Educators, featuring partnerships with Peel and Toronto District School Board. As Brian mentioned in regards to conflict, as an institution, University of Toronto does recognize the systematic and institutional racism that does occur in the colonial world that we live in. So this is a part of our initiative to answer the call for action when it comes to anti-Blackness and anti-oppression within the institution. So this initiative will provide opportunities for MT students, all MT students, to build their knowledge, belief, and practice through an anti-racist lens. Furthermore, it will provide opportunities for Black MT candidates to access resources, support, and professional networks, as well as Year 2 Black MT candidates to have an opportunity to be placed in a Peel or Toronto District School Board schools K-12 program with an educator who is committed to dismantling and disrupting anti-Black racism. We will be holding, as the year begins, please keep an eye out. We'll have announcements about the initiative. We'll also be holding an information session in September, likely September 23rd, to provide additional information and details about the project. So look out for that information, everyone.
Yeah, and again, just orientation is September 9th to 10th. Yeah, so I think you have to show up for both days, just to let everyone know. Thank you, Antonia, as well, for sharing that. An important thing to realize, an important piece to realize is the work that we have to do towards making, education, decolonizing education, and realizing the oppression that exists within the system so that we can change it to create a brighter future. So we're going to jump into our Q&A session. Also, before we do that, we're just going to jump straight into this, the Q&A in just a second. Look out for merch. We're launching merch. We had a merch contest. I know some of you participated in it, and the merch will be coming this fall. Stay tuned for future announcements, and you will be able to purchase MT merch, and you will be able to see the designs as soon as possible. I know there's a merch purchase that you will all have to make, and you will be able to purchase that. Also, one question, was the cohort rep question answered, Emily?
No, not yet.
Okay, so I've gotten emails about this. So cohort reps, you will have a representative from each cohort that will be there to just to answer your questions. Sorry, let me start again. You'll have a cohort. You have two cohort reps. They will listen to the concerns that you have, and then they will attend meetings on behalf of you with other cohort reps, and they will get information from the leadership team. That will then be relayed back to the cohorts. This process isn't occurring right now, but the leadership team will be sending that out in September about choosing cohort reps. There are two, but that is a process that will be occurring in the fall. We do have 2 positions open on the MTSA, as well as we will be holding, we'll have first year reps as well being on our team as well. With that being said, we'll jump in.
Can I just comment on 2 things before you go into Q&A, Brian? Sorry. So in regards to the research scholarship and any other awards, because there are a lot of internal awards, as someone mentioned, That's why it's very important to build relationships with your professors, because those are the references. Those are people who are going to give you references. So that's a very key part, because, you know, for financial aid, some of us need that money. So build that relationship so that it can, you know you in class, have seen you comment, so they're able to speak on, you know, your ability. And the second thing I want to talk about is for Acorn, make sure you do the direct deposit. So for people that are getting OSAP, and for anybody that's planning to get an award or apply for an award, yeah, that will make the transition easier when you do get paid. Instead of waiting for whatever, it will go directly into your bank account. That's it, Brian.
Okay. Q&A, go ahead. We'll start with Shelly.
Yeah, so my question is just about, it was a little bit about workload, and it's more just how, so the stress is just COVID, and what happens if the kids end up back home, or if any cohorts in the classroom, they end up back home because they have to self-isolate. Like, has there been any thought to that? Like, is it that I'm putting on my headphones and I've got the kids at home and I'm trying to do class while doing all of that? Do I let my prof know? Like, I'm just kind of stressed out about worst case scenario with the numbers going up and being home. And I know it's a very specific issue to the mothers or the parents. But I just wanted to know if there's any contingencies for how it's not about not doing the work. It's just like if I'm a little late, or, you know, if I get called in and I have to go pick them up from school, or things like that come up.
So yeah, if that happens 100%, you reach out to your profs ahead of time, and that's creating a relationship with your profs are also important, because then they know about your own personal situation. And if you're in class and you have to go pick up your kids, private message your prof, say, hey, there was this that happened at school, I need to get my kids. And they will be like, okay, go get your kids. That's more like, that's important, right? They do understand that you're a parent, and, you know, some of them are parents themselves, or some of them have been parents. So don't worry too much about that. You know, if you know, a return to class situation for us, if there is a COVID outbreak, we don't even know the policies and procedures around that yet. So, because there'll be OISE specific ones as well. There'll be U of T ones as well as OISE specific. So stay tuned for that. Is that, were you more referencing it for your kids or yourself, or in like practicum situation?
Well, also practicum situations. It's just like, I mean, I know when my kids were in school last year, it's like the teachers were trying to teach with their own children, you know, at their feet, and doing the best they can. So I'm assuming that if it goes virtual, we'll all be doing virtual again together with all our kids at home. So it's just kind of do the best you can. But yeah, I just wanted to know in terms of like, you know, like, is the prof gonna, like, are you gonna be shamed if you're a few minutes late? Like, are you going to be like, I just don't know how much prep has to go into that.
You're not going to be shamed. Go ahead. Go ahead, Antonia.
No, absolutely no shame, Shelly. Also, when your course syllabi are released, it is a standardized format. So all of the course outlines will have the same format, and there will be policies for, like, if you were absent from a class for whichever reason, how might you contribute on Pepper instead to show that you are still like engaged with the topic that's being discussed that day. And then the timeline for that will be flexible. I also want to say it is 9 o'clock, and I understand that not all folks can stay any longer, because I know we can all get super carried away with questions and eagerness. So thanks for joining us if you have to head out, but we will be hanging around a while longer to answer as many questions as we can. Sorry, Shelly, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that totally answers my question.
Awesome.
And also,
also rely on your peers. Like, your cohort will help you with some of these things. If you've missed information, rely on your peers, ask them for help.
Yeah. So, Sara, just to let you know, your connection's not the greatest. So
I believe what she was trying to say is, yeah, you definitely rely on your cohort, rely on that support. You know, we are kind of stuck, we're a little family stuck together for a while. So for 2 years, so definitely rely on your cohort reps should create different areas that you guys can communicate. And just remember, the pandemic is affecting everyone, both the professors. You know, I know that we might have anxiety. Like sometimes we hear the news and then right off the bat, I see my cohort type in like, what does this mean? I'm like, the professors got the same email and the same news. So just give them some time. They will send out information to answer the questions, you know, because they're going through it at the same time, the pandemic, you know, so things might change, you know, last minute, that might affect us. So all you need to do is just communicate with them and they're definitely understanding. If there's some reason like you're being shamed because it may happen, or you feel uncomfortable with a professor, the MTSA is there for you. Brian, definitely you can reach out to him and everybody else in the MTSA. And with the new initiative that I've created, like I'm a part of, please, because that's something that we do not want in any situation, is to be shamed for whatever reason, and or to feel any way, you know, to being discriminated upon. Okay, so just reach out to one of us and we'll be there as well to support you and navigate the channels that you need to do.
Okay, so I want to make a quick mention of, Antonia is 100% right. Do feel free to reach out to us. I just threw our email there. You can find us on social media. I know some of you have messaged us there. So I saw a question about medical vaccine exemption. If you cannot take the vaccine due to a medical exemption, or if you refuse to take the vaccine, what you will do in the return to campus, the policy as it states now is that you will have to do testing twice a week. And there is an hour limit to how soon you have to do the test before you come to campus. So they will provide you with a testing kit that you will have at home that you will take, that you have to do twice a week, and provide the result to OISE. I don't know how the process works. Again, that process will be relayed to us the closer we get to the fall, or the closer we get to the winter term, sorry. Cohort information should be received soon. Winter term should be will hopefully be in person.
Yeah,
again,
Brian, can I add to that? Just because it's been asked a few times.
Yeah.
So as it stands right now, like what OISE's plan is that we have to come in person for winter. And I say have to because like we did ask if there would be a virtual option, and they said that they expect all students to come for the winter semester if it's in person. But that is the policy right now. We have no clue what's going to happen throughout the fall term. So I would just say to keep an eye out on your notifications with regards to the plans for winter.
So like, I'm just preparing for a situation. Let's say things go crazy wrong and numbers aren't looking the greatest, or let's say things aren't stable. They might say, okay, online, you might, or for first years, you might go online and have second years go into campus because we haven't been in at all. And hopefully by your second year, things get better and you can have the full year. So they might, you know, in our situation, they prioritize second year practicums for the first semester. So do realize and have to be understanding that things can change and be prepared for change. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but do be prepared for change. Although change is hard to accept. And, you know, if you need to vent, just don't send us an angry email. Just send us an email saying, hey, I need to vent. We can set up a Zoom and you can vent to us. So yeah, I you know, I like to be a happy-go-lucky person. Like we're students, we're doing our best for you. We're working as hard, but, and just, yeah. David, go ahead.
Yeah, since we're talking about vaccines, so like, even though we're gonna have it online in the fall, like if we go back to in person in the winter, even though we're not staying on residence or whatever, we have to be vaccinated, or we do the test to test negative like twice a week that you were saying, right?
So if we're in person, Emily, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's so what you said is correct, David, but I also want to notify everybody.
at least in Toronto, the public school board meetings are public knowledge, like they're live streamed. And I believe recently they've been tabling sort of a mandate that all educational staff, including teachers and presumably teacher candidates, may be required to be vaccinated. I do not think this has been approved, but as soon as one school board says, yes, this is going to be the rule, everyone else will follow suit, and this will likely extend to teacher candidates and volunteers coming into the school as well. So that being said, if you are able to get the vaccine, willing to get the vaccine, and you have not yet, we encourage you to do so. If you cannot, hopefully there will be more clear communications from at least U of T on the medical exemptions, but do keep your eyes peeled for any information coming from school boards that you're interested in having placements with in the fall, because it's likely you'll be going to a school before you'll be going to OISE. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead. Sorry.
So and remember also that things also may change. There was a question that I saw in the chat about just giving advance notice. There's students internationally. We have 2 people in our cohort from China that are in China right now living there. We also have, think about Laura in the MTSA, she's in Alberta. So thinking about how they have to relocate, OISE wants to give as much advance notification as possible. Go ahead, David.
I said my second question was that for the math proficiency test, like, are we able to take that in year 1?
I got this, Brian. So
it's very, it's hard to get a test, and they, we like it's the second years that are encouraged to take it.
You also need to have an OCT certification, so you won't be getting that in first year, so it won't be possible without that.
No, because I've heard of other teachers that took it in year 1 at York, and I'm just wondering if we could do the same thing, or we have to wait till year 2, right?
The math proficiency test is a bit of a mess right now. If you've been following along, you'll know that. So in order to actually book an appointment to take the math proficiency test, you need to have an active application to the Ontario College of Business. So you need an applicant number to register for the test. Having an applicant number doesn't mean much except your name is in their system. You're not required to pay any dues or anything until you've submitted an application.
Right.
That being said, like literally today, this week, they are in court fighting hard as anything to get rid of this legislation because it makes no sense. I could go on for another 2 hours about why the MPT is just like the worst thing as far as like equity and the lack of evidence, and like I'm quite confident, I'd like to say I'm quite confident that this will be shut down entirely, and we will know whether or not that is the case in October.
Okay.
So I know everybody's like, the MPT is next to COVID one of the most anxiety inducing things about being a teacher candidate. If you can hold on for a couple more months, it may be like something you don't have to worry about at all ever, which is like, yikes, we're telling you to wait for more information. But I can send a link to the Facebook group with all the updates from the court case. It seems promising, but I'm not a lawyer, so.
What would happen to that slot in our timetable for that math course if it's no longer?
That's a great question. So you'll take that regardless. So all PJ teacher candidates, I'm not sure about JI, will take Math Plus anyway. That's not intended to be a math proficiency test prep course. That's more meant to be like a content knowledge and pedagogy based course. But there will be, if the test does become like an official thing for sure, there will be additional supports from the MTSA and the faculty to prepare folks for the MT.
Okay, I want to jump to Manmeet's question. Hers was there. So go ahead, Manmeet.
Hi, I have 2 quick questions. My first is, so I'm enrolled in both Math Plus and mathematics. So what's the difference?
So, Catherine, did you want to take it?
Sure. Math Plus is what Emily was just referring. It's basically a course to help teacher candidates like practice math again, because some of us might not have done math in several years. So they go over like fractions and equations, all that good stuff, whereas mathematics is more about pedagogy. So how do you actually teach math to students? So that's the difference between the two courses.
Thank you. And my second question is regarding GPA. Do we have to maintain a certain GPA in our classes or anything like that?
Only if you're going to apply for certain awards, because some awards are attached with your academic, whatever it's called, success.
I want to say the minimum
Minimum of an A plus, an A minus in the last year or 2 years of your education. So that's the only. So for example, when I applied for certain awards, they will look at my undergrad grades and GPA. But going forward now, I have 1 year of my UFT transcript. So that's what they'll probably assess as opposed to my undergrad. So if you want, and that is something that the BSA has been working to dismantle as well, the whole grade equivalent when it comes to awards. But right now it's at an A minus at the lowest for you to get certain awards. So if you want those awards, you might have to maintain a certain GPA, or if you're trying to go into a PhD program.
Thank you.
There is also a minimum for certification with the OCT. And I think that is a B minus. But if I can be frank, it's harder to get a B than it is to get an A. And that is something you will hear from many folks in the program, because you all got into the program. You're all bright and you're all hard workers because you're here. So no need to fret. No need
like Emily said, it's if you're not working, that's basically when you'll get they're very generous, a little bit too generous for Brian, but that's another question. I mean, do you have another question?
Nope, thank you.
Thank you. Brian, who's next?
Sorry, I was having issues unmuting. I need to just mention that point, Antonia. That was okay. Welcome to our cohort's life. So I'm going to go to Ryan. You had your hand raised. Sophia, I'll get to you after that.
So my question was also about the math proficiency test. This is the first I'm hearing about it. Is this not relevant for the IS stream, or is this something that I should have been aware of?
So the math proficiency test is a requirement for certification with the Ontario College of Teachers. So all teacher candidates graduating from an accredited teacher education program who intend to be certified with the OCT are required to take the MPT. If you want to go, for example, teach internationally immediately after graduation and not become certified with the OCT first, then you don't necessarily need to take the test right away. To be clear, the test is not a requirement to graduate from the MT program. It is only a requirement for certification with the OCT to teach in Ontario, or you can teach with an OCT certificate in other provinces as well, but that's sort of a bridge to cross when you get there. Does that help answer your question, Ryan?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so I have Sophia, Farah, Cynthia, and then Tara. So Sophia, go ahead.
Hi, I just had a question about how you guys felt about being online and whether or not that affected your community, because I heard a really great things about being in your cohort and being in your class and getting to work with everybody. And since you guys have been on Zoom for a while, I was just wondering, do you feel like it made a difference? Do you guys still feel like you got to bounce off each other and that sort of stuff?
Not gonna lie, things get pretty real. We're all in the same boat. It may happen that you sort of find a group that you stick with more casually, but I find that overall, the cohort community is quite good, but other folks should also speak to that.
I was going to say, just to answer a little bit, definitely it kind of depends on how you start with your cohort. Definitely make sure you get in communication early. So what my cohort did, I'm just going to shout them out. Like, we're all super close. We've had parties online. It's like, it's a good time. So just make sure you set up a Facebook group chat, or wherever you want to use, make a group chat, go on Facebook, post an introduction, say some of your interests, and like let people comment also, right? So you can get to know each other. If you don't do that and you don't kind of like, text or chat or like post in the group chat a little bit to get to know each other, then it will be harder to build that community. But it's definitely very possible, and I encourage that communication ahead of time.
And I would like to add that it's not always, so pleasant as well. So maybe find, like, there's 33 people in our class. So even if you're not best friends with everybody, try to find some sort of relationship or make some sort of connection with one or two people. My one or two people are in this room already. So, Angela and Brian are usually my go-to people if I need to ask any questions. But it's not always the same for everybody, but always try to build connections and relationship with some people that you may, find commonalities with.
Another thing to add, if you're not like really jiving with your cohort, there's also other groups that you can be a part of. I was really active in Queer and Trans at OISE, and like I was able to make some good connections there as well.
Jen makes an excellent point. Other ways that you can get involved in campus, there will be many ways you can get involved. There's a professional graduate student caucus that I was a part of. Before I was part of the MTSA, I was part of the Curriculum Teaching and Learning Students Association. Again, we have our positions as well on our MTSA that we're looking to fill. There's so many things that you can get involved with on campus. If you're not, even if you are driving with your cohort, there's other ways that you can get involved as well. So I'm going to jump to Farah.
Hi, everyone. I have a few questions. I'm going to try to make it as quick as possible. So first of all, with regards to electives, are we like completely free to choose whatever course we want? Like, could I take like a foreign language, or is it something that has to be within OISE?
Yeah, it has to be within OISE. It's your electives, and don't worry about your electives now, but you will be selecting them. They'll be mostly related to education.
Okay, thanks a lot. And
Sarah, some electives could be chosen outside of OISE, but in UFT, but you have to get approval from the professor. Yeah. Okay. So like the social justice department, you can probably take a course there as an elective, but you need approval from the professor.
Okay, thank you so much. And with regards to practicum, so is it mainly observing teachers, or like how often would we actually be required to teach?
So once you have access to Pepper, I don't know if it's updated for 2021-22 just yet, but there is a practicum handbook. I strongly encourage everybody to go through that ASAP, even if it's the outdated one, and it'll have a calendar in there. So for every practicum, the expectations from OISE are slightly different, and the expectations of you increase. Third practicum is more intense than the first practicum. But the idea is that you start the first week or first handful of days with some observations, and you gradually assume more of the teaching responsibilities. What that looks like precisely will depend on your goals and your relationship with your AT and what you agree upon. I mean, for myself personally, I taught in the virtual secondary school during a quadmester, so I taught and wrote the curriculum for 2 units in their entirety because it was a new course to myself and my AT, which was intense to say the least. But other folks were able to take their AT's materials and adapt them to maybe try something a little bit more innovative or a little bit more flexible for a hybrid or a virtual teaching and learning space. I don't know if any other folks want to talk about their experiences with practicum, because I think the best answer is just to share what we experienced.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to mine. So the first one is adapted, so that doesn't count. The second one, I was in a virtual school as well, grade 3 class. And again, building that relationship with your AT. The AT does get information from OISE telling them exactly like how much they would like for you to teach. But again, it depends on the AT you get and how they would like to go about the situation. I taught, I think, 3 subjects from the first week to the 4th week. And I ended up teaching every day. But it was like, you know, two subjects a day. And then I would have to plan, and because it was online, I had to plan and actually share my information a week in advance with my AT, so she can give me notes on, you know, ways to go about it. But I was able to get a lot of materials from my AT as well. She basically gave me all her grade 3 math, language, lesson plans and online lesson plans. And so again, it depends on the AT. And even if you do have a bad experience with your AT, don't worry about it. Make sure you just contact or connect with your practicum advisor as well and share that information.
I also want to mention really quick, you're going to receive, for first year and second year practicum expectations are different. So you'll receive a specific document and it details everything that you'll need to do in practicum, and you'll share that with your AT. So don't be too worried about that. It's not super demanding in first year, so you'll get to ease into it.
Okay, thanks so much. Sounds good. And just one last question. They mentioned through email like a few months back about awards, so stuff that you could apply to and some that were like entrance awards that do not require application. So I was wondering if somebody was the recipient of an entrance award, when would they be notified, or have they already been notified?
Usually 2 weeks into the program. I got my notification first year and 2 weeks into the program for my entry award for, yeah.
Okay,
So it's one
congratulations.
Thank you. It's one I didn't apply for. I got entry, but then obviously that inspired me to apply for more. That's why I did the shark as well. Plus, yeah, I'm not working, so I needed to pay my bills. So,
sounds good. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
All right, sorry, Cynthia. I had Cynthia first. Cynthia, go ahead.
Hi. I was wondering how much time we get off in between year 1 and 2. Like, I wasn't sure about all of the course dates.
I can go to that if anyone. Okay, so it's interesting. So you start. So between year 1 and 2, you have your summer courses, right? So let's say you finish courses in April. So you have some time from April to May off, and then you have courses from early May to mid-June. So you have about, from after that, you have 2 weeks off and you go back into courses. And then you start early July to mid-August, and then you're done. And then now that's time where we have off and we get to spend our time off with all of you. So you know, this is one of the longer, more of your longer breaks, but it is a 2-year, full year, 5-semester program. So summer courses are, Nargis, they're full, they're 6 weeks, they're cut down to 6 weeks, and you used to cover all that material. So it is a little bit intense, but it's a full course load. And it's normally, and your 2 courses, and you're doing it twice a week. And sometimes sometimes one class is synchronous and the other is asynchronous. And so it just depends on the prof. But yeah, it's you have your 2 courses per semester in the summer.
Thanks.
And for a quick note, this year they made one of the courses an elective, which was really helpful. So I had one of my electives. You know, I took an asynchronous elective. It really depends on what you want to do, and so you can kind of do that. I know Emma and Tony had an interesting situation in their elective where they were supposed to be asynchronous, but it almost turned out to be synchronous, and so
best experience of my life.
Yeah, it was listed as asynchronous, but our classes were actually like 3.5 hours long, but that usually doesn't happen. Usually what it says is what it will be.
No, it wasn't really like it was it was an asynchronous class, but the teacher recorded the class for like, obviously if you're not going to show up to class, you watch the video. But it was so empowering and like amazing. It was called No, what was our class? Introduction to Decolonizing Education by Kelia Rodriguez.
Yes.
I only said her name for the first time the last day because I was always mispronouncing it. But amazing professor, amazing class, and I had to show up every single class. And yes, the class ended at 8:30, but there were days that we stayed in class till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, like 11 o'clock, I think was one day for sure.
Yeah. Just chatting and exchanging ideas and sharing poetry, sharing thoughts, sharing ideas. It was amazing.
I think she might be teaching some of you anti-discriminatory education. So if you have her, it's going to be great.
Thank you. I just had one more question. So I was thinking of adding the teaching in religious schools courses, just to kind of keep my options open potentially. Can anyone speak to that? Like, was anyone in it or did it for the same reason as me?
Angela, I haven't heard you, so go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Can you please?
So she was mentioning the part about religious education.
Yes.
How did you feel like adding that to your course?
To be honest, so that one is in the evening. It was once a week, and it wasn't too bad, to be honest, to add to the course.
It was 5 sessions only.
Yeah, it was only 5. You're right.
So it wasn't much. And so both profs are great, but take it with Rob. Take it with Rob. It will be amazing. It can get boring sometimes, but he's a great instructor. Rob is phenomenal.
And I advise you do it in the first year if you plan on taking it.
100%.
Yes.
Oh,
And
really?
I think you need to take it, if I'm not mistaken, in the first year. No,
well, I'm not signed up to, like, I'm not signing up for like the Catholic school, but I'm signing up for like the TDSB. But I realized that it was an option, so I was wondering if I should like keep that option open or something.
okay, because sorry, Brian and Antonia, I was just going to say, because my understanding, if you want to get a Catholic practicum, you need to take this course. That was my understanding. Anybody can clarify?
I'm not sure the course because it's some teacher ed programs. It's not like a supplemental thing. It's part of their timetable, in which case they don't have the same kind of scheduling flexibility. But that'd be a really good thing for us to fact check and get back to everyone on. Thanks, Angela.
Problem, Emily.
But whether or not you do take the course, you might not necessarily get into the Catholic board if you are not Catholic. So because you require like a reference check from your priest. So if you don't go to church, so you will probably get that information. But
so that's actually good to know, because like I'm like biologically, I guess, like my mom is Catholic, but I've never really gone to church. So does that mean I wouldn't be able to teach?
That means you're Catholic. You're good. You can take the course and just maybe show up to church a couple of times so your priest can see you if you want to get into a Catholic school. Brian doesn't ever go to church, but he has connections with his priest. So that's probably how he's going to get his letter.
Good to know. Okay.
Yeah. So as long as were you Christian cat, like were you baptized, and even if you don't go to church now, like are you baptized as Catholic and all that?
I mean, I think so, but if not, couldn't I just get baptized?
Yeah, you can get baptized as an adult, and you can, as long as you can get the information from your priests and all the other information that they need, you should be good to be able to get into a Catholic board if that's the route you want to take.
Okay, thank you so much.
I would say if you want to get baptized as an adult just for getting into a Catholic school board, you may need to do like a year's worth of preparatory courses with the church for those intents and purposes. So definitely just like research all of the boards surrounding you. I did take CEL, and it's not CEL, teaching in Catholic schools. I did take it and sort of realized through that course that I think I want to teach personally in a public board, so it's worth taking. But I don't know that I'd recommend getting baptized just to teach in a Catholic school, because that just may create more hoops you don't need to jump.
Because when you do get into a Catholic school, you actually have to teach like with the religion practices. So if you don't believe it, and because I work for the Toronto Catholic School Board as well. So if you if you don't believe it and you're not really Catholic, then it might affect you, your beliefs and practices within the school, but not everybody. It won't affect you in every way, because we go to mass, we go to church, and then you're teaching kids, you're supposed to pass on those knowledge to children as well. So if it's just for a job, think about it twice before you do it. But yeah,
Okay.
It's possible.
Thank you so much.
Tara, go ahead.
Hello again. I just wanted to thank you before asking my questions. It was amazing. The load of information that I'm absorbing. I've been biking for like 50% of it, but it was still very, very, very good. Especially Antonio, I'm already in love with you. The things that you highlighted was answered a lot of my questions. So my first question is, especially with the fact that you mentioned about UTAPs, that it won't be applicable to a lot of students, because I thought it would. Now I'm getting a little bit concerned about my finance situation. So are there any part-time student jobs that you could propose probably for me to look into? Because I kind of changed my career path because of this. I used to work in a totally different industry, and this is quite a big jump for me. So if I want to work even part-time, I want to do something that is related to what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, which is education. So what are the options that I can look at in order to cover my basic expenses, in case that I don't get that I won't be eligible for any kind of University of Toronto assistance?
Okay, first I want to apologize in advance if you hear snoring. My mom's sleeping. Second, the U tax. I'm not necessarily you might not get. I'm just, as the person I was sharing the information with before. If you have OSAP, if you're getting OSAP, you're automatically considered for it. But not everybody, again, depends on your living situation and your finances, will get it, and it depends on the amount as well. Anne-Marie Kwan is the best person when it comes to the U-Tax or any of that financial issues or questions to contact. She'll be able to give you details. Michelle Pond sends out, so you remember that notification we're talking about on Pepper? There's a section, there's a folder that's specifically to scholarships and awards. Make sure you have that notification turned on, because you will then receive any award that's being sent. Some of them are for doctoral programs, but any awards that are available will be sent to you. I understand that it's hard, and not everybody is in my boat. I have a lot of experience before coming to the program, so it all depends on your background. I did receive a lot of awards, but it was work. I worked to apply for them, and the information you put there and how you present yourself, all of those things count. Unfortunately, your grades count, your connection and getting good references count. But again, the most important thing is the way you present yourself to that paper. Read the specific awards. There's lots of internal awards that are specific to sometimes to age, to people that have kids, to people returning from, just like you came from from the workforce and now you're taking time off for school. I had to take 2 years off of work to go to school. So there was an award that was specifically about that I applied for. I'm not even sure if I got that one, but there are lots of awards. But in addition to your workload, that's a lot of work to do. So if you're able, willing, and map out your time, apply for as many awards as you can, and you will receive them. I didn't get every award I applied for, but I got a lot to support me financially through the program. So I really, really encourage people to apply for the awards. And this is something as well with the access pathways for Black educators. This is something that we'll be also talking about a lot in getting a lot of financial assistance to support Black students as well. So is there anything else? Did I answer your question? Apply, talk to Anne-Marie Kwan for the awards, and apply to everything that applies to you, even things that don't apply to you. You never know. Maybe nobody else applies to the award, and then you're the only one that applied. You're gonna get it. So
Catherine,
apart from,
sorry, quick note.
you go, Brian.
Catherine provided a link for work study positions. I'm going to post a link that Dr. Ritchie, who's a prof at OISE, sent to me. So that's also another place that you can check out. So go ahead, Tara.
Yeah, apart from the awards, what kind of part-time jobs I can do in order? I just want it to be connected. I just want it to be relevant. But since it will be somehow Fridays and it will be on weekends, I don't think that we can do a lot that is actually related.
So a lot of people in my cohort actually do tutoring as a part-time job, Tara, which is very relevant because you will be working with students and teaching them. And a couple of them work in like tutoring centers, and those are always after school. So it's not going to conflict with your class time as well. And yeah, so that's a very common one that I see a lot of people do in this program.
There's also course instructor opportunities that will come up again. It all depends on your background and experience for you to apply to that. There's research assistant positions that are available. There's graduate assistantship position that are also available. So you can, there are emails again that are being sent out, so you can apply. There's TA position, that's teacher assistant positions that are common as well. So anytime you see those positions, their deadlines sometimes are really quick, like within a day. Sometimes I get it the morning, it's due in the evening. So just watch out for the emails, and then you can apply to any of those positions which are relevant to what you're doing right now and could provide additional support financially.
That's perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much. My second question is, I'm in PJ cohort, but my main goal is to continue my education towards PhD. What do you suggest as someone who is just entering the program with that intention in mind? But unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to work on any research paper up until now, but I won't be getting any supervisor, so it will be a little bit tricky. And I'm kind of interested in social justice department as well. What would you recommend for someone who has such goal in mind?
I could speak to that.
The first thing to be clear is, because you mentioned you're in PJ, like PJ, JI, IS, absolutely no difference in academic or pedagogical rigor. We're all fabulous teachers in our own right, so I wouldn't be worried about, like, oh, I'm in PJ, does that mean I'm less scholarly than the folks in IS? Absolutely not. I would recommend, if you have an interest in the social justice department, look at some of the research that the folks in that department are doing, and see if that's going to line up with your research interests. Something that I don't think we've mentioned yet that might be super important is that Research 1 and Research 2, well, research in the MT program does have like a social justice equity sort of stipulation. The expectation is that you're looking at things of that nature, not like, no offense intended if I'm using an example that somebody feels very strongly about, but if you're looking at, what's the correlation between video games and academic performance during the COVID-19 pandemic, where we can suspect that students are playing video games more. That's absolutely valid research, but it's not really to the tune of the program. So just be mindful of that, especially if you are interested in writing a grant application, because that's coming up pretty soon. You don't want to pick a topic and then realize it's not aligned with the program's expectations. But I digress. Definitely look into what folks at U of T are doing in the areas that you're interested in. And as Antonia has said a few times, start making those connections. And sorry, Angela, I cut you off. Please go ahead.
No problem, Emily. As well as making connections with your peers, also making connections with professors, because sometimes if your research aligns with theirs, or if they are aware of another professor that is doing that type of research, they can connect the two of you. So that also plays a big part.
So I would I would need to just keep an eye on research opportunities and get good marks. This is something that I can control.
I would definitely say yes, but a little bit more than that, you're going to want to actively look into who is instructing a social justice course on women's studies, if that's what you're interested in. You're going to have to actively look into who is doing what and sort of seek out those opportunities before they're presented to you, which, as Antonia has also said, is a lot more work, but absolutely well worth it.
And my final question is there a way that I can do a part-time work that is kind of related to research? For example, as an assistant that I can get paid for and also is in line with what I want to do exactly. Is there something like that that I can like make some living out of?
Yeah,
I don't know if I'll make, go ahead, Brian.
There's some links we posted in the chat that are related to research. There's work study positions, and there's also what was the second one? The second one was one was work study and one was just positions for GA, TA positions that you can take a look at, and RA, sorry. So you can apply for those. I can post it again. Catherine had a more specific one than I just had the CLXN. I don't know if Catherine, if you want to insert that again, if you can, please, and I will insert the OISE Toronto one for student employment. So you can take a look at those, apply for those. Those will be best for working at OISE and working with faculty.
Also,
thank you so much.
In my first year, just to give you a heads up, in my first year, I did apply for those positions. I didn't receive one of those positions because a lot of them are going to year 2 students that have applied for them in year 1 and never got it. So if you don't get it, just look for something else that you can do. And again, in regards to the PhD, as you're talking about, yes, your grades are great and the connections are great, but there are other things that you should be doing in your free time to upgrade your knowledge, like engaging in professional development. OISE has a lot of professional development opportunities, so you want to be seen in these spaces and interacting and have that on your roster or your resume. Volunteer work in the community is important, especially if you're trying to go into the social justice department. So engaging in things outside of school, but that are relevant to the PhD program that you want to get into is also important as well.
You know, the thing is, after I got admitted, via the conversations that I had with a number of OISE staff and older students, I kind of realized that I'm probably not in the best program with regards to my goal. And they told me that if you are really considering PhD, then why are you here? Because you should have applied for Master of Education instead. And now you have like lowered your chances. So
yeah, it may be a better chance if you were in a Master's of Education, but I know of people that are in this program that just finished their year 2 are in a PhD program as of today. So Kai is someone that just finished. She was also the OTC award winner this past year. She just finished in the MT year 2, and she is a PhD candidate as well. So don't let that hinder you. Just stay focused on what it is that you want, engage yourself, and you'll be fine. So you can get into a PhD program in the MT program as well.
Thank you so much. It meant a lot. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
No problem. One of our GAs was also, or I know a GA that's also did MT and then did her PhD, Tina Ta. Randy, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, sir. I do have one more question. I just wanted to know, I did hear, and I might get the terminology wrong, so please feel free, anyone, to correct me. I understand that although if you're an intermediate senior, you know, you have 2 teachables, 1 primary, 1 secondary. I heard you can take some sort of certification course, like an AQ or something, to get another teachable. Like, how does that work? What would be the benefits? Is it worth doing? You know?
Yeah.
As an intermediate senior teacher candidate, you apply with 2 teachable subjects that you have X number of university undergraduate credits in. So for me, I did anatomy and cell biology for my undergrad. So I have biology and general sciences as my teachables. I also took enough chemistry credits where once I've graduated from OISE, I have 4 full year courses in chemistry. I can take an additional qualification in chemistry that will be pedagogy based in order to be able to teach chemistry. I did not take any French classes during my undergraduate studies, so I couldn't graduate and then say, oh, I want to do a French AQ. Although I did anatomy, I couldn't do a health and physical education AQ because I don't have the undergraduate background. So if you do want to expand your teachable subject repertoire, you do need to have the university credits to do that. An additional basic qualification is to allow you to teach. So if I wanted to teach grade 1, 2, 3 now to get my my primary certification, I can do that. That's an additional basic qualification. But all of those things for the vast majority of the time will take place once you've graduated from the program. I have heard of a couple of scenarios where folks do it in like a summer term or during their second year. Not from the OISE program though, so I wouldn't advise that. But yes, you do need to have the university credits to be able to do that.
Thank you, good to know.
And just like Emily said, being in PJ, we are end up in grade 6, so you can upgrade to grade 7, 8 with the basic qualifications as well.
So there are different AQ courses pertaining to different levels of teaching. So if I'm an intermediate senior, I can take an AQ course supposedly in the future for primary junior, which would be a lot easier to meet those qualifications.
Yes.
Yes, or higher.
Or
yeah.
higher, okay.
I think the main point is just that like your course load while you're in MT is it's heavy. You don't have space for extras. So AQs are something you're doing post graduation of year 2. So that's the main thing. But yeah, you're free to take any AQ that you please, whether it's anything from French or you can get your PJ, your JI qualifications, whatever you're feeling.
For sure, good, thank you to know. I thought it would be dangerous if I had to teach someone French, so.
I do believe for French, you can actually take it before year 2. French is one of the exceptions that you can take before, but I do believe that you have to have some sort of French background as well.
Yeah, and just as a side note, there are additional qualifications and things like special education, which is really good for employability. So I would encourage you to get that as one of your first ones, but also things like guidance counseling, outdoor or environmental education, and a lot of different things that may suit your interest, and sort of all of that feeds back into what you will discover is an important standard of practice, which is ongoing professional learning. Seeing that it is 9:48 now, are there any last questions that need to be urgently answered that we could not answer over email or at a future session?
I actually have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys answered this. It's probably, I just need more like, I feel like I know the answer. I just want like a confirmation. When it comes to practicums, they make sure that you are basically teaching like various grades, right, throughout your stream, just because the grade ranges, right? Like I'm in PJ, right? And it's kindergarten to grade 6, and there's a huge difference between those grades. So do they make sure that you're able to like kind of get a grasp of all those grades, and or is it just like random and whatever? Like, is it just luck, or how does it?
Oh, go ahead, please.
You're going to receive a range. So if you're for your first practicum, you might get primary, so somewhere from kindergarten to grade 3. And then in your second practicum, they're going to place you in a junior. So you're going to get both experiences, both contexts.
Okay, but I don't pick, like they just pick for me, right?
No, it's depending on availability. So they'll place you with someone, but they're going to do their best to give you primary and junior.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
The only exception is IS, where the prioritization will be one per teachable as opposed to one for intermediate and one for senior.
Marcella.
I just have a quick question regarding the Catholic section, like courses for it. Do you have to sign up for that, or do you do it? How do you get those like courses? Because you guys suggested to take in the first year.
Sorry, I'm pulling up the link. It's continuing professional learning, or easy, I believe.
It is something that you need to register for by, I think, like mid-September, and I think the fee associated with the course is $210, give or take. If Brian pulls up the link, it's done through the continuing education department, so it's not considered like an elective at OISE. Some teacher ed programs do consider it an elective. Brian, do you want me to look for it?
I almost have it.
Okay, sweet.
I got it. There you go. Put it in the chat. And again, just a quick note, Google's going to be your best friend. If you need to just look anything up, play around. You're going to have to research stuff too. So when you're researching stuff, you're going to have to look online, find creative ways of like Googling things, and you're going to find your answers. Or you call Antonia and she can give you the answers. So
Marcella, do you want to ask, did you ask your question already?
Oh yes, it was about the Catholic school. I think I got a link for it. So
are
thank
there
you.
any questions that need to be answered now? Again, our social media will be answered, our emails will be answered. So if you don't have any pertinent questions, then we can go. So thank you all for attending. I know this was a lot of information in the last 3 hours. Really appreciate you staying on and listening. Thank you to our amazing exec members, and especially the biggest shout out to our lovely, lovely volunteers. Have a good night all, and take care.